accolades as one of the league's best all-round players, with over 2,000 all-purpose yards, third best in the CFL. McGriggs has only played 7 games this year and already has been twice named the league's Defensive Player of the Week. Together, their play has inspired the rest of their teammates, turning them and their fans into believers. And the building process for next year continues this afternoon. It's Ottawa and Winnipeg next. Live from Frank Clair Stadium, it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Ottawa Rough Riders. With TSN, you're always live and interactive. You can play QB1 with this afternoon's football game. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CFL Live on TSN. I'm Darren Detition. We're glad you joined us for this afternoon's football game. The coach over there is almost giddy with excitement as he's got his Ottawa wear on. Let me introduce you to our panel. To my right, columnist for the Globe and Mail, is Marty York. To his right, Les Brown, and then the incomparable Bob Obilovich, who might be playing a little piano at halftime. We're not quite sure. Let's start with you, Coach. You got the Ottawa. So do I. You got the Ottawa Rough Riders, who are 3-13 this season. You got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are 8-8. Ottawa is not going to the postseason. The Bombers definitely are. Despite their differences in terms of their record, you say these two teams have a lot of similarities.
They do. Ottawa's totally playing for jobs for next year and for the future of this football team. And when you look at the two teams, Winnipeg and Ottawa have both been struggling on offense all season. Both of them have played well on defense and have good defensive personnel. They both have excellent return guys. Eric Gulliford for Winnipeg and Kenny Willite for Ottawa will excite the fans. And they're so even in so many ways that I think this will be an entertaining game today.
When you take a look at Winnipeg, you think defense. Predominantly, they're linebackers. They've had some great ones in the past. They've got an excellent one in K.D. Williams, Les Brown, but they've also got a pretty good pass rusher up there in Angelo Snipes. Are these two the key to Winnipeg's defensive game plan?
Well, Angelo Snipes definitely is my vote for the most outstanding defensive player in the West, for sure. I mean, like, he was up there in '92, and now he's back up there in '96. So Angelo Snipes is definitely my key. But this defensive secondary that Winnipeg has, which I got to give a lot of credit to Donald Burrell, who used to play for Winnipeg. He's the coach back there, and he's got these guys really covering well back in that secondary. So I think the key goes to Winnipeg because they have more to play for.
Well, Angelo Snipes is the CFL sack leader. He enters with 15. We'll keep our eyes on him. Marty, earlier this week, you talked to the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Larry Smith. What did he have to say about the Ottawa Rough Riders and their fate?
Well, Darren, I don't want to get too serious because, after all, this isn't a serious game. But, no, the fact of the matter is that Larry Smith said that he may not be able to save the Rough Riders. This could be the Riders' last game in Ottawa. He can't guarantee that. At the same time, though, he's very confident that he will be able to rescue the BC Lions. And next week, he hopes to introduce the new owner of the Lions. So I think what you're looking at is an 8-team league next year, and maybe not including Ottawa.
That's a serious game.
We'll talk about it at the half. That'll do it for now as we head out to Frank Clair Stadium in Lansdowne Park, our nation's capital, as Leif Pettersson and John Well are standing by. Gentlemen?
Darren, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have 2 more warm-up games to get ready for a playoff date with the Edmonton Eskimos next month at Commonwealth Stadium. And in the backfield today, something a little bit different. They've alternated 2 quality running backs all season long, and today they have them both in the same backfield.
Yeah, it is a little unusual, John. Usually you think when you want to get your running game going, you have the big blocking fullback and, of course, your running back. But today, Michael Richardson and Blaze Bryant will start in the backfield together. Now, what they want to accomplish with this is to put a little more input into their passing game. They've had a lot of drop balls. I think these 2 running backs are great receivers out of the backfield. They can put a lot of pressure on defenses. Ottawa's got a great cover defense. I'm not so sure that's going to work, but, you know, it is experiment time. They get 2 games to get ready for the playoffs. They feel they can still run the ball with this combination in there. They feel it's going to help the passing game, so with 2 games to go, they want to see if it works.
And with 2 games to go for the Ottawa Rough Riders, they have a little something to prove, too. Prove that they're a better football team than they were a year ago when they finished the season with 3 wins and 15 losses.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. And 2 of those 3 wins for Ottawa have come at home this year. We'll see how they do against the Blue Bombers. This is the CFL Live on TSN.
It is an absolutely glorious afternoon in the nation's capital. And a perfect day for a little CFL football at Frank Clair Stadium. Absolutely calm and refreshingly warm as we get set for the Blue Bomber kickoff. Gordon and Wilhite deep for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And Westwood's kickoff coming down at the 25-yard line. This is Gordon in the air to bring it down. And not much on the far side, but a penalty flag flies on the very first contact of the afternoon. 8 yards on the return. The kickoff traveled 50. Today's starting lineups are brought to you by Corral. George Black in charge of proceedings.
We have no infraction on the play. First down.
They were just practicing. Good news, the first flag.
That's it.
Dropped an error.
I hope this doesn't set the tone for the game.
Steve Taylor good on 50% of his passes as a starter for the Ottawa Rough Riders this year. 670 yards. David Archer has too many problems to make a start in Ottawa this afternoon. It'll be 1st and 10 Rough Riders beginning at the 34. Denal is through and across the 40 to about the 43. Another marker down in the Winnipeg secondary. That was K.D. Williamson on the tackle. I guess it was a dress rehearsal for things to come. Two flags dropped in error.
We have no infraction on the play.
Oh, they're getting lots of practice now. They're going to be tired out if they keep doing this.
Here's the way the Rough Riders line up. Travis Anderson making his first start at one wide receiver spot. Willie Hinchcliffe at the other inside. Joseph Rogers, the great rookie, and Robert Gordon to run the ball. Dave Denal and Troy Mills. And the offensive line intact for much of the last 6 weeks of the season for Ottawa. This will be 2nd and 2. Denal gets the call again and has to retreat. Needs a block and gets to the outside with a great run by Denal as he crouches midfield. Damian Lyons, number 3, to make the tackle after Denal's fine 13-yard run. Nice little ad-lib there.
Sure was a good ad-lib, and I'll tell you, if you watch Steve Taylor, when he doubles back, watch Steve Taylor lead the play around the corner. And, you know, Dave Denal has been nothing short of impressive this year, but Taylor takes on Colin Scribner, and, you know, that's why he got around the corner and got some good yardage. You know, this guy, Dave Denal, he's averaging 9 yards a carry on the 30.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and it's why he's starting the football game today.
Denal has another carry, not much this time. Maybe 3 yards.
Well, when you look at the running game and how successful they're going to be, it's a tough defense to run again. The leader, Angelo Snipes, fellas in the studio talked about him. 15 sacks, leads the league right now, and pretty good secondary. Shannon Garrett, youngcomer, rookie on the corner, has done a nice job. Damian Lyons plays well. And, you know, Bobby Evans, got to love him. A very aggressive inside halfback, plays the run exceptionally well.
Actually, Denal did have a fairly nice run there. Picked up 5 yards, 2nd and 5. Bombers on defense as Taylor fires and has Troy Mills to the 40-yard line. Garrett made the tackle. This is a nice opening drive for the Rough Riders. Another 12 yards there.
Well, I mean, it's like last night. You know, Hamilton comes out smoking right off the bat. That's what you want to do offensively. And Steve Taylor stands in, takes the hit from Gerald Bond, but finds Troy Mills across the middle. And, you know, I really believe in this league, and you see so much of it this year. The crossing patterns are so effective. And, again, the same thing. Make people chase you. I mean, the width of the field dictates it's going to be a good play. And Troy Mills got open quite easily.
Already way ahead of last week. 6 carries for 13 there. Last week, he has 12 on that previous play. Denal again. And he ran into K.D. Williams, number 44, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' leading tackler.
Well, this looks like a pretty big hit by K.D. Williams, but essentially what happens when Denal comes around the corner, here's Williams. He comes up and meets the play right here. Pretty active linebackers, we all know. And, you know, they do a pretty good job at the point of attack, but there's just nobody to get through. Chris Burns couldn't get through and get the block. And, you know, again, that hit looked like a lot more than it really was.
No gain on the play, 2nd and 10. Thanks to K.D. Williams. Riders just inside the Blue Bomber 40 early in the opening quarter. Steve Taylor.
Gone, ball's gone, ball's
As Joseph Rogers stays in bounds down the sidelines, he's to the 10 and down to the 5-yard line. This guy has had a sensational rookie season and another 33 yards on that play. Gotta love Joseph Rogers, a Rookie of the Year contender, no doubt.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. To the right of your screen, he's 1-on-1. The blitz is coming. Good protection, and Rogers against Bobby Evans beats him, and, you know, Bobby Evans picked the spot to come underneath that, and he just gambled and lost. I tell you, you know, this is going to be a tough choice. You mentioned Rookie of the Year. I think Leonard Humphreys, who has played corner for them all season long, deserves some consideration, but no question, Joseph Rogers has been spectacular.
Denal has a touchdown from 5 yards out. This guy has been amazing. A terrific drive by the Ottawa Rough Riders. Denal did a lot of the work himself and ends up with a 5-yard touchdown run.
Boy, the Ottawa Rough Riders made this opening drive look pretty easy as Dave Denal follows the right side. James Monroe, and good block by Rob Stevenson. He just cuts back against the grain, and there's no way that Greg Freres, the middle safety, can come up and make the hit.
He was untouched till he hit the end zone.
You know, it's tough to tell, but I'd say that's probably their best opening drive of the season.
I would think you'd have to say that.
Too bad it happens in week 17. Oh, that wasn't very nice,
no,
was it?
However, they looked good there. Wayne Lamley finishes it off. And the Ottawa Rough Riders on Dave Denal's 3rd touchdown run of the season have a 7-0 lead. Dave Denal still holding on to the souvenir on the sidelines after a 5-yard touchdown run.
Well, I'll tell you what, left guard Rob Stevenson right here. Watch how he folds his man down. Okeke right there, but K.D. Williams comes on the blitz, and he just essentially takes himself out of the play. You know, you can't block everybody, but Williams essentially took himself out when he shot up the middle, and, you know, all Denal had to do was run over the middle safety, which isn't too tough for him to do.
Too deep for the Blue Bombers. Eric Gulliford and Freeman Basinger for the Ottawa kickoff. This is Basinger at the 10. Fake the reverse. Didn't fool Ottawa's special teams. Bombers will start near the 15-yard line. 7 plays to cover 76 yards. A very impressive drive. Denal was a big part of it all the way up the field. Ottawa in front of Winnipeg, 7-0.
You know, I talked to Leo Cahill, their vice president of football operations. We had a long chat before the game, and I said, now, well, how about Dave Denal? And he said, he is the Dennis Rodman of the CFL. And
nice do.
I think you can see why he refers to him that way. Tell you what, he can run, though, can he?
Certainly demonstrated on that opening sequence. Markers are down as McDougall goes deep. Basinger was the intended target. Coverage by Wilhite. Basinger went down, but he just ran in to the cover guy. McDougall making his 2nd straight starts against Winnipeg. Procedure call. McDougall only hitting on 40% of his passes as a quarterback in the CFL so far this season. Back-to-back starts in relief of Kent Austin. The outside receivers, Eric Gulliford and Myron Wise. Inside, Freeman Basinger and Sean Graham. And we talked about the double running back situation with Blaze Bryant and Michael Richardson. On second down, Richardson was the intended target, and McDougall missed by a bunch with Tommy Henry in coverage.
You know, John, Winnipeg made this change to have two running backs essentially in there to try and beef up their passing attack, and they're doing it to see just what it looks like. But, you know, the Ottawa secondary, their secondary and linebackers, I mean, these guys are tough to get the passing game going against. It's a pretty good group. You look at linebackers like Lamar McGriggs and Dwayne Knight, they can run with any running back in the league. So, although it's a scheme Winnipeg wants to see, I'm not so sure it's the right defense to really get an accurate look at how it's going to work.
Cameron standing at his 2-yard line. First punt of the afternoon. Gordon waits for it right at midfield. And Katie Lang is there.
Katie Lang?
Williams. I did it.
You did it. Didn't take long.
I made it all the way.
I think he should legally change his name, then we wouldn't have these problems.
Suter got us started. Zeroing in on K.D. Williams, the Bombers' leading tackler.
It's Williams. There it is, right on the back there. It's not Lang. Forget this. It's Williams.
I think I've got it straight.
Got it straight? Okay. Because I'll tell you what, you don't want him coming and paying you a visit because he's mad at you for saying his name wrong. I think Suter already found that out this year, didn't
he? Yes. We did mention it earlier. Denal on the reverse, and it's bobbled. Hinchcliffe finally picks it up on about the third bounce, and he's grabbed by Angelo Snipes. Riders sitting with terrific field position. All of a sudden, a big loss.
Well, you know, the play's not a bad call there. You get great field position, throw a little trick into things, but Dave Denal flips it to Hinchcliffe, and you know, that wasn't a bad flip. I don't know why he couldn't have. He's a wide receiver. He's supposed to be able to catch that thing. He was only a foot away from him. All of a sudden, great field position, as you mentioned, is lost.
A 10-yard loss, 2nd and 20 facing Ottawa now. Riders on top of the Bombers. Early in the opening quarter, 7-0. Taylor looks to throw, can't find a target, and can't get it away.
Dunstan Anderson makes pretty good play, and I mean, he comes a long way. He's over here, but he will come a long way to make the play on Steve Taylor as he steps up. He keeps working, and he ends up with the sack.
Great job by the Bomber defense on back-to-back plays. Ottawa had its second possession right at midfield, and now the Bombers will gain a little field position back. Basinger and Gulliford deep for Winnipeg with Lamley across the 30 to get this one away. Basinger at the 21. Tracked down by Troy Mills. Good special team coverage, and Kevin McDougall gets another shot at it now. His first sequence was rather forgettable.
Well, you look at the Winnipeg quarterbacking situation, and Reggie Slack most likely will not be back. I mean, if they really went a long way in the playoffs, possibly he would be. Kent Austin's left shoulder, it's not his throwing shoulder, is really not in good shape. He could play today again if they need him, but you know, this isn't the greatest situation with 2 games to go before the playoffs to find out if this young quarterback can play, but that's the situation they're in.
This is Blaze Bryant, and he slipped hitting the line of scrimmage. Jeff Cummins was there waiting for him.
And you know, we talked, John, about the running game and how you need a big blocking fullback sometimes. They sent Michael Richardson out to block Jeff Cummins on that play, and there's just no way. And I mean, that's why they didn't have any success. All of a sudden, Bryant looked up, and there was Cummins right in his face, and he slipped down. But you always wonder, Dean Lytle, he's dropped some balls. He's not playing today, but I mean, heck, he is a good blocker. We know that.
Loss of a bit. 2nd and 11, Blue Bombers at the 29. McDougall releases in a hurry for Myron Wise. Flies away from one tackle and up near the 40.
Wise, the ball carrier.
Humphreys And Lamar McGriggs on the tackle. And he gets necessary yardage. Needed 11. That's exactly what he got.
And that's usually a pretty good first down play, but Winnipeg chooses to use it at 2nd and 11. And Myron Wise, who struggled last week with some drops, made the catch and a nice run to get them the first down, their first one of the ball game.
Out at the 40-yard line, Winnipeg first down. With Gulliford flanked to the near side. 3 receivers set to the near side. McDougall on the roll and bounced it. Sean Graham was the closest bomber in the area, but he was at least 10 yards away.
Well, you know, Blaze Bryant, you think of him as a back that runs the football, but here's Lamar McGriggs. Watch him on the blitz and watch what happens when he runs into Blaze Bryant 21. You're going to see a heck of a hit right here. Boom! I mean, and it put him right on his back. You don't see him fall down, but I mean, that was a heck of a hit.
That's Ken Wilhite.
Yeah.
2nd and 10, McDougall has time, buys a little more, and he's got Basinger for a first down out at the 55. The Younger, the middle linebacker, number 56, over to make the tackle on Basinger after a 15-yard gain.
And if Winnipeg's offensive line is going to give McDougall that much time to throw, Freeman Basinger and that receiving corps are going to have a chance to do some damage today. McDougall had all kinds of time to let that one fly.
Bombers across midfield with another first down. Trailing 7-0, the Riders scored on their opening drive. McDougall, time again. Basinger the target. He was behind him. Had one hand on it, but couldn't bring it home.
You know, that's really what I saw in Kevin McDougall a week ago in the game that they played in Hamilton, that, you know, sometimes he just stood up tall in the pocket and threw perfect strikes, and there essentially his team did a good job. Ottawa brought 6 people on the rush. They picked it up, and yet he couldn't complete the easy pass to Basinger. It's that lack of consistency or inconsistency that, you know, really hurts him right now as a young quarterback.
Gulliford to the near side once more. Myron Wise flank to the top of your screen. McDougall keeps it on the ground for Michael Richardson. Well read by the Ottawa defense. Richardson grabs a couple on 2nd down. Richardson actually lost his starting job to Blaze Bryant about 4 weeks back. And now both running backs are in the same backfield.
You know, I'll tell you what, here with a game with nothing on the line, you're in the other team's territory. You've got to watch fake to kick it, but...
Wilhite calls for it. Across the 15. And he's to about the 22. Ken Wilhite sent the Ottawa Rough Riders up there. Ottawa on top of the Blue Bombers.
On it. I mean, that's not a sack, but that's almost as good because it forced him to throw the ball short. He's the leader.
15 on the season.
Couple of guys.
A tough choice for Winnipeg defensively as the player of the year, number 91 or number 44.
I'll tell you what, that is. You know, I said it last night, John, in the Hamilton-Montreal game. That's the fun part when you've got a lot of guys to choose from. It's nothing more difficult than trying to figure out who's going to be it because there isn't a lot of good players.
Lamley is just wide. Riders settle for a single from 50 yards away, and Lamley just misses. Hit on 17 of 28 coming into the game, hitting on 60%. Ottawa Rough Riders at 3-13 right now. And you know why the fans have stayed away in droves over the last little while. When you total up 4 years and you get 14 wins and 56 losses, it's a little tough to sell some tickets here. They've done a pretty good job in reviving some interest at the last hour here in Ottawa this year for a couple of critical games, but realistically, you can't blame the fans. This Ottawa football team hasn't been very good for a long time. Blaze Bryant Briggs, and he's made a big difference to the Ottawa Rough Riders since joining about 6 games ago.
Boy, you are dead on with that comment, because LeVar McGriggs has injected some real enthusiasm into this team. There he is. He wraps up nicely on Blaze Bryant, but, you know, they were a struggling defense. And, I mean, yeah, listen, they struggled all season long, there's no question. But this guy has made them better in a hurry.
Front seven's a pretty good group overall. And a lot of changes have been made since the season began. Kevin McDougall for Winnipeg on 2nd down. Look for Basinger. Wilhite covering.
These two guys were former teammates with Sacramento, were Kenny Wilhite and Freeman Basinger, and they're having a good battle here in the first quarter. He's still talking to the referee that he interfered with me, but you're going to see them coming down the field. Here's Basinger right in there. You just check him out, because they get a pretty good battle. Watch the fighting near the end of this play. Bit of contacts created, and Basinger actually did a good job to cut it underneath, but they went back at each other right there.
Hands in, hands in.
Cameron. Here's Bob Cameron's kick. Barely got it away. Flag goes down as the punter hit the turf. And Gordon has nowhere to go with another flag in that area. Wrapped up by Katie Williams. So Cameron hit the turf.
I don't think there's any question. Ray Bernard just went right into him trying for the block.
One more look here.
Well, Ray Bernard tried to dive to the spot. He thought he could make the block.
Ottawa number 95. 3rd down repeated.
Yeah, but it's
Flipping, Ottawa number 33 is declined.
But it's 3rd and 1 instead of 3rd and 11 now, so Winnipeg gets in the gambling mode. Well, and I think in a game like this, heck, even though it's still on your own side of midfield, you got to go for it.
I would agree. Cameron heads to the sidelines. Murphy sends Kevin McDougall in.
Although you recall, John, we did Winnipeg's game a week ago. They had trouble with their short yardage, picking up a yard like this. Now they're a man short. They got all kinds of confusion going. They don't know if it should be in. Gulliford in. Should he be out? Now they got to burn a timeout.
McDougall finally calls it.
Goodness gracious, you know, I really fault coaching in this situation, because as soon as that flag was thrown for contacting the kicker, one of two things.
What the options were going
one
to
of
be,
two
right?
things is going to happen. It's going to be roughing the kicker, and you have an automatic 1st down, or you're going to get a 10-yard penalty, and it's going to be 3rd and 1. And that is instant thinking. You know, before the referee makes his call, you should be making your decisions on the sideline, so this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
And have the right personnel on the field.
And I mean, I'm not blaming Cal Murphy, but maybe it's the young quarterback or whatever, but these things have to happen instantaneously if you want to have an offense and a team that just keeps moving forward, and those things can't happen. Those are silly mistakes.
3rd down and 1. The Bombers go gambling at the Winnipeg 52. Bryant over the top.
Tell you what, he didn't get that by much.
I think he may have it, and that should be the final play of the opening quarter. So we'll see when they spot the football. It will be a Bomber 1st down when we come back to Ottawa for the 2nd quarter on CFL Live.
CFL Live at the Quarter, brought to you by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
Well, so far so good for the Ottawa Rough Riders, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are now moving the ball. As the season comes to a close, we are taking a look at each and every team and the respective nominees for the year-end awards. And Leaf was talking about this. Who do you like? Do you like Katie Williams, or do you like Angela Snipes in this occasion? Marty, who do you lean to when it comes to Winnipeg's Defensive Player of the Year?
Well, Darren, I've been saying all along, in fact, I think Katie Williams is not only Winnipeg's Defensive Player of the Year, I think he's a defensive player in the CFL. He has more interceptions than any linebacker in the league. He's third in tackles. He does everything. He plays special teams. I mean, this guy is a dominating player. Now, granted, I'm impressed by his flamboyance and that sort of thing as well, but I honestly...
It's the gold teeth. It's the gold teeth that have KD
well, that
on
helps. That helps. But,
matches his tie.
And he's young, and he's supposed to play all those special teams anyway.
But I think KD Williams gets the edge over Snipes. Snipes is 61st in the CFL in tackles.
Yeah, but Angelo Snipes, though, leads the CFL in sacks, and that's what he's paid to do. He's got 15. He's not there to make the tackles. He's more of a rush end than a linebacker.
But a lot of players are telling me that if the offensive line weren't paying so much attention to KD Williams, Angelo Snipes wouldn't be as free as he gets to rush the
Well, you know, I really think, personally, I like Williams on the outside with Snipes because I think that he's such a force coming off the edge. The one game we saw when they played the two of them together, they were almost impossible to handle in that game.
But I think you guys are overlooking that Clemens is a very good rush-in at the position. I talked to Angelo Snipes, and he said that these guys, they practice every day against the offensive linemen and rushing, you know, and pass rushes and stuff. And this guy has all the moves. So I think that they know what they're doing when they're putting him there. So well, I got to go with Angelo Snipes myself.
Let's see if the Ottawa defense can come up with all the moves and see if they can stop the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they try to charge down the field. Let's return to Ottawa. Here's Leaf and John.
And we're here ready for a first down for the Blue Bombers. Closing in on midfield. And some fans still care in Ottawa, but the crowd is not exactly outstanding here this afternoon. Myron Wise makes the catch. And fights his way close to a first down. Humphreys finally forced him out. Numbers from the opening quarter favor the Ottawa Rough Riders in net yards. No turnovers so far. Time of possession is a big deal. 28 net yards for the Blue Bombers.
Well, I tell you what, they have picked up where they left off a week ago, really struggling on offense. I mean, back to where they were years ago with good special teams, solid defense, but the offense just can't keep pace. And, you know, obviously you can say maybe it's quarterbacking right now, but with 28 yards a quarter won't get it done.
Richardson on second down, and he has a first down, needed 2.5 yards, and this Bomber drive will continue now at the Ottawa 45.
One thing I know about Michael Richardson, I mean, he's a tough, hard runner, all those good things, but he does catch the ball well, and we talked early in our opening that one of the reasons why these two are in there is if they get down inside the 20 in the red zone, they really want to have these backs in their passing game and for their catching abilities, and we'll see if that materializes today.
Bombers now at the Ottawa 43, a little play action fake by McDougall, has Richardson sliding out of the backfield and fired a little high.
Well, again, you know, Kevin McDougall has completed some balls today, and then at other times he has not looked very good at all because that was a ball that was not a tough one to complete, and he just couldn't get it done. Boy, you gotta like the way he plays the game, don't you? Lamar McGriggs comes hard, and you know, I laughed the first time I ever saw him. He should have had an interception. Toronto dropped it. He started doing push-ups on the field. I asked him today, I said, now, if you drop one, are you going to do push-ups again today? He said, you bet. He said, that's my penalty. He is a character.
To be 2nd and 10. 8th play of this Bomber drive, aided by a penalty. Richardson makes the catch and got away from Ken Willite. Younger finally tracked him down, the middle linebacker.
Well, you see that when you get a team 2nd and long, Ottawa sits in the zone defense, and Kenny Wilhite can just read into the backfield. He should have made that play back at the line of scrimmage, but couldn't wrap up. But now they, you know, they're close to first down. But you get teams backed up 2nd and long, you can allow yourself to play that kind of a soft defense and then react up to it. Wilhite should have made the tackle.
It's 3rd down and a long 2, and the Bombers have the kicking unit in.
Kenny Wilhite makes that tackle. They're punting. They're not trying for the field goal. So the little things, you know, in a ball game that you don't see in the box score.
Troy Westwood will have it spotted by Bob Cameron at the 43. And hit the post. These Bomber kickers have had some health problems this year. Westwood was sick a couple of weeks ago. Cameron suffering from pneumonia in the past week, but both on the field today. Former Ottawa Rough Rider John Kropke. Now the nose guard in Winnipeg had some great seasons as a member of the Rough Riders. Seems fairly happy to be away from some of the turmoil in Ottawa, although he still enjoys the city.
Well, he plays a pretty thankless position, I'll tell you. Nose tackle in a 3-4 defense. I mean, I can't imagine a tougher spot to play. Essentially, you got 3 people blocking you all the time. It's a thankless job, but I'll tell you, over his career, you talk to people, he is probably one of the most underrated defensive linemen that has played in this league. Everybody says, oh yeah, John Crockett, he's great. Should be an all-star. Should be an all-star, and yet sometimes he never is.
Denal on first down near the 25, and there's not much there that time. Charlie Clemens, guy with 6 sacks on the season, was waiting for Denal as he came across the line, gained about 1.5 yards.
You know, this is almost like the Hamilton game a week ago where it was 16-0 for Hamilton, and all, you know, I said that, you know, the defense is probably going to have to make a big play to turn this game around. Colin Scrivener got an interception. I kind of feel like that's the way this game is shaping up, that Charlie Clements and his buddies are going to have to cause a fumble or make an interception to turn it around.
Second down, near side. Gordon.
Oh, I don't know about that. I thought he made the catch there. Wouldn't have been a first down. Probably didn't matter. Bobby Gordon thinks so too. He's having a chat with the official.
And more heat on Steve Taylor as he got this one away.
I got some heat. Well, Winnipeg going with the stunts to try and get some pressure. Charlie Clements with the hit. That's a pretty good shot. Chris Burns just has to keep those feet moving, the right tackle a little longer. That was too easy for Clements to get by him. Usually your tackle should be able to handle the outside linebacker, but he couldn't.
Lamley back at his 11. Basinger and Gulliford deep for Winnipeg. Basinger calls for it. And another marker down near the 45-yard line. Dwayne Knights leading the Ottawa tacklers to limit the return to 2 yards. It's Ottawa on top by 8 on CFL Live. Corral radically Canadian balloon is high over Frank Clair Stadium here this afternoon. You thought that last punt came close to hitting it?
I thought it came about 3 yards away from hitting that balloon. Now, I think we can get Marty York up. I'd like to put him in that thing one day.
Great view from up there.
That's right. And have this guy sitting in there with him.
Bombers are 1st and 10. And this is Blaze Bryant. Dwayne Knight making the tackle on Bryant that time.
You know, John, as you sit back and you look at this Winnipeg offense and what do they need to do and what should they do? You know, it's fine to say, well, we got 2 running backs in there because we want to use their pass catching abilities. But I mean, with the young quarterback and the nature of this receiving core, Cal Murphy's team has to be able to run the football to win games. I mean, I don't see this team doing a lot in the playoffs if they can't establish the run and at least work play action offense.
Gain is 8. This will be 2nd and 2. McDougall.
And I'll tell you what,
right between 2.
How do you relate to that call? You get 8 yards on first down running the football, and then 2nd and 2 you throw. Goodness gracious, I don't understand this. And, it's almost frustrating watching it sometimes because this is a big offensive line. They can tee off on the football, but I mean, that's not even close.
I agree with you there. I think I would have kept it on the ground and pounded for at least 1 yard.
Well,
set up an opportunity for
3rd and 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's
or just pounded it up and got your first down right away and kept rolling.
I'm sure Cal and Mike Kelly, the offensive coordinator, I mean, there's some rationale to what they're doing. I just, at times, I don't really understand it. Maybe I'm missing something here.
Troy Westwood hit the post on his first attempt. Is spotted at the 50. His longest to the air, 57. And this one is dead center. So the Bombers are finally on the board. Westwood connects on his 35th field goal of the season. It's 8-3. Ottawa on top of Winnipeg.
St. Peter's Eskimos. Commonwealth live on TSN tomorrow. Gord Miller and Glenn Suter with a pregame show at 3:30.
I'll be on it. I'll go in there in the studio and
Mix it up a little bit.
mix it up with those guys. Yeah, it'll be fun. You know, that's going to be a great game tomorrow because Calgary's had a week off to get ready. Edmonton, of course, lost a week ago to Toronto. They're going to want to get on a winning note before the playoffs start. Look at Calgary. They had a week off. Now they play a couple of games, and then they get another week off waiting for the final. That's not too bad. I mean, when you get a little break like that in the schedule, and for Cal, it's going to be tough. You'll go up to Edmonton to play a playoff game up there. It's a tough place to come in as a road team and win.
And it might be a little nippy a couple of weeks from now up at Commonwealth. Bombers are used to that, as are Eskimos, as always.
I'm going to Winnipeg next Friday night. Are you doing that game?
Yep, I'll be there.
So you and I are going out with Montreal. It could be a little chilly out there as well.
We thought it might be chilly here today, and it's absolutely perfect. We're in our shirt sleeves this afternoon, and I think the date's somewhere around October 26th, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Ken Wilhite. Fake the handoff, still going. Needs a block, and won't get it. Markers are down near the 30-yard line.
You know, a lot of people say, why do they keep faking the reverse all the time? But what it does is really keep that cover team in their lanes. And when you keep them in their lanes, sometimes you don't need much of a crack to break one all the way. And that's why they keep faking the reverse.
And Wilhite's having a pretty nice season with 2,000 all-purpose yards. A lot of that in kickoff returns, which isn't a terrific statistic for a football team to have.
Look at logic on this one. He's a defensive back, and if he's that close to Jimmy Cunningham, who's returning punts, kickoffs, and playing wide receiver, I'll tell you, it tells you what kind of year Kenny Wilhite has had returning kicks. He's been great.
But he's had an awful lot of opportunity to return kickoffs.
Now, that's the other part of the equation.
They've scored a few touchdowns against this group.
Boy, you're being hard on him today, John. You'll be up in that box there on that balloon in a minute.
Taylor has a little room after the play looked to be a little bit misguided. Williams and Garrett make the stop on Taylor after a 15-yard gain. So he's run a couple of times effectively and picked up first downs today.
Yeah, and I like what he did at the end of this one. You know, he's 205 pounds, and he just puts his head down and just tries to run over Shannon Garrett here, and he does a pretty good job of it. I'll tell you that, Katie Williams, he can cover some territory. You know, you could put an isolation camera on him on every play, and you probably get something on every play.
Something entertaining and worth watching. On first down, it's Robert Gordon made the catch and then lost his footing after about a 3 or 4 yard gain. Bobby Evans there to pin him.
Still a pretty good call on first down, though, to cross your inside slot backs and hope you either create some confusion or break somebody free. Winnipeg was in a zone coverage there, and they read it nicely, but still, I thought that was a pretty good call on first down for John Payne's offense.
Actually, they marked the gain at 4 yards. This will be 2nd and 6. Riders at their own 38. Leading Winnipeg 8-3. We're in the second quarter at Frank Clair Stadium. Taylor, all kinds of time, looks to the far side on target. Out at the 50-yard line. Anderson makes his first catch of the afternoon. This is his first start. Anderson got into the game last week and caught 2 for 48.
Boy, Steve Taylor just got this off, too. Greg Clark was breathing down on him, but a nice catch. Keep this drive going.
And Taylor has been on the turf a lot today.
Well, you talk about Travis Anderson and his catch. We'll talk about him after this play.
Denal takes the pitch. Slowed after a gain of 2 by Charlie Clemens, 48.
You know, in my chat with Leo Cahill today, I said, Leo, tell me a little about Travis Anderson. And he said, well, you know, it's very typical. Free agent camp, probably one of the best people ever at finding people in this league, found him and brought it to our attention. I said, it was you, wasn't it? He said, yes, it was me. But he said, like anything, he's a young kid with pretty good speed, around 4.45, and some good hands, but until you put him in game situations, you never really know.
Second of the bunch needed by Steve Taylor, throwing under pressure. Had Gordon, he couldn't hang on.
That's too bad Bobby Gordon couldn't make that catch, because Steve Taylor essentially did a heck of a job to avoid the rush and try and make something happen. It would have been a first down. And, you know, Bobby Gordon, here he is, you know, and he works back to the quarterback nicely. But the only problem is he just wasn't able to make the catch. And Taylor, who worked so hard to avoid the rush, you know, that's not a tough catch to make.
Makeable catch there.
Well, what you got to do is you got to slide down and just make sure you catch it. If you picked up the first down, great. But don't worry about any of the extra yards you're going to get after you catch it.
Basinger and Gulliford back for Lamley's punt. The Ottawa kicker standing inside his 40. And Henry tries to get out of the way.
It's a fire drill.
And the flags fly after that anyway. Basinger on the return. Net of the punt, 28 yards. Ottawa continues to lead Winnipeg by 5. Sideline reporter Mark Bunning is in that maze on the sidelines.
He was there sitting down taking a breather. Now he's moved over to here.
Well,
Come on in, Mark.
I'm standing up now, guys. I have Gerald Wilcox with me. Gerald, it's a beautiful sunny day for football. I'm overdressed. I'm boiling. You're dressed appropriately. But I'm sure you'd rather be wearing the Blue Bomber blue, yellow, and white. How tough has it been not playing?
Oh, it's been so difficult. You know, we've struggled as a team, and we're trying to look for some things to get us ready to go in the playoffs and have a chance to win a championship. But it's been tough, and I'm just doing everything I can to get back and get ready to play football. And having a day like today in November in Ottawa, where I started, I'd like to be playing.
Let me ask you about your injury. Is there a possibility you could be back this year?
Well, anything's possible. Right now, my rehab is going exceptionally well. I'm far ahead of schedule, and at this moment, it's not an option. Maybe in a week or so, it'll be an option, and then we'll decide then whether it's, you know, smart or not.
Thanks, Gerald. Good luck.
Thanks, Mark.
Gerald Wilcox, guys, back to you.
He's missed most of the season, and that's been a real problem for the Blue Bombers. They've had to use an awful lot of receivers, including Myron Wise, who picked up 24 on the last play to set up this Bomber first down. McDougall. Gulliford with Henry covering. And Eric Gulliford couldn't make the catch.
Tommy Henry back in the lineup this week in his 12th game with the Ottawa Rough Riders. Still leads them in interceptions with 5. And this is one of the reasons why he does. He breaks so well in the football. He avoids the contact and gets that left arm around to make the play. That's a heck of a defensive play. When you talk about injuries to the receivers of Winnipeg, 18 different receivers have caught footballs for Winnipeg this year, and that tells you the problems they have had with inconsistency in their lineup from week to week.
On second down, McDougall has all kinds of time. Sideline for Myron Wise. Couldn't hang on. I think he was out anyway. Humphreys was covering number 23 for the Ottawa Rough Riders. You talked about the great season that Humphreys has had.
Wow, he was in perfect position. You know, the ball might have been caught. You know, Wise dropped it, but had he caught it, he was still going to be out of bounds anyway. And it was because Leonard Humphreys just got on that inside hip. He rides him gently out to the sidelines, and you see he's out of bounds anyway. Had he made that catch, he stepped out of bounds, and it wouldn't have counted.
Lots of steamboats here for Kevin McDougall. He's got all day back there.
Well, you know what? There hasn't been a very big pass rush this afternoon by that Ottawa front four, and you know, had McDougall been on target a little better, you know, they'd be in this game. I mean, they're still in it, but he hasn't completed a heck of a lot of passes.
Cameron kicking.
Wow.
And Bernard again on Cameron. It's contacting the kicker as Wilhite fields it in the Ottawa zone. And that's the second time that Ray Bernard has come in contact with the Blue Bomber kicker. Tried to prop him up a little bit that time.
You know, I know you're trying to block it, but, I mean, unless you really in your heart think, I've got it, and he didn't really lay out for it. If you're going to try and get it and lay out for it, and you create the contact, well, that's a judgment error. But, I mean, you know, he didn't lay out for it, and he still had the contact, and, I mean, it's tough.
Hey, I did that right there. I laid up, and he crumbled.
Wow. Hey, we saw it. He didn't lay out. And when they see the film tomorrow, you'll know that he didn't lay out.
So the Bombers keep the drive going. As a result of that penalty, Ottawa leading 8-3. Winnipeg set up at the Rough Rider 48 as Richardson gets the call. Nice run for Michael Richardson. He's near the 40. McGriggs and Leonard Humphreys put the tackle on Michael Richardson there.
Well, it's going to be an interesting call. You get 7+ yards on first down. Now you're second and 2 or 3. Last
they're
time
gonna throw, right?
Last time they did.
Wise to the
Maybe they should cross up the defense here and run on second and 2.5 or whatever it is.
Let's see what they plan. The option, and it works for a first down. Nice job in there by McDougall. Faked it to one running back and then gave it to the other one, Blaze Bryant.
And that was effective. I mean, he put it right into the belly of Michael Richardson, and that froze Jermaine Younger, the middle linebacker, and you're going to get a good look at it here. Watch, he puts the ball right in. It freezes Dwayne Knight just enough that there's no run support out on the outside. That is a good-looking short yardage play.
Bombers set up. Definitely in scoring range now with 3:56 to go till halftime. At the 31, McDougall to his right. Throwing on the run. That might have been tipped. I think Swift Birch got a hand on it.
Yes, he did. Kind of unusual. The ball still stayed in a spiral, but he did get a good tip on it. Good piece of it. You know, I don't know, Kevin McDougall, he does not run the football very often, but when the rollout like that, he had a protector out in front of him that could have taken off with his verbal signal, and I really would like to see this young quarterback run a little bit. I haven't seen it in 2 weeks, and not sure if he seems like he's a good runner, pretty fleet of foot, and I think he could help himself out a lot if he chose to do so every once in a while.
Bombers looking at 2nd and 10 at the Ottawa 31. Riders still in the lead by 5. McDougall with time, and Gulliford stopped. Mix up between quarterback and receiver. Whose error?
Well, I always, I'm a receiver. I always blame the quarterback. Here's Gulliford out there. And, you'll see he stops and the ball keeps going. And, McDougall's expecting him to go on the fly. And, hey, what can you say? They're just not sharp today. It's the time of the year. You got this week and then next week, and then you're going to play a playoff game. You want to be, on that gradual incline, building. And, Winnipeg's just not able to do it offensively right now.
Cameron puts it down. Westwood puts it up, and he's made 2 in a row. Westwood hit the post on his first try of the afternoon, but now the Bombers are within 2. Ottawa started with a very impressive opening drive that netted 7 points, and really the Riders have not moved the ball as effectively since. Following football this afternoon, we'll take you to the Senior PGA Tour, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 o'clock in the West, so a good afternoon of golf ahead. Steve Taylor at the controls for the Ottawa Rough Riders, with David Archer watching from the sidelines for the 2nd week in a row. Dave Denal ran effectively in the opening quarter. Breaks 1 tackle here. Got away from Charlie Clemens, who finally slowed him down. And a marker flies with 3 minutes till halftime. So the Rough Riders continue to hang on to a 2-point lead at Frank Blair Stadium. Ottawa Rough Riders drive will continue. Penalty goes against the Blue Bombers. Yards tossed so far this afternoon. A couple of backups getting a chance to start for the 2nd week in a row. Well, Taylor and McDougall started last week in relief of the #1 quarterbacks. Ottawa with a first down at the Rough Rider 45. 1 man in the backfield, 3 receivers far side, markers down, and so is Steve Taylor, wrapped up by Angelo Snipes, number 91. So If that sack stands, it'll be number 16 for Angelo.
Offside, Winnipeg number 48. Repeat first down.
Angelo Snipes remains at 15 sacks, but still leads the league.
Yeah, and Charlie Clements costs his team some pretty good field position. That would have been second and long. All of a sudden, a couple of penalties. Ottawa gets the first down as a result of one, and on a bad play, they now get 1st and 5. That's not all bad.
Ball spotted right on the 50. Here's Denal. He'll have the first down. Yards to spare. Love the way this guy has been playing football lately. Greg Clark finally put the stop on Dave Denal after a 15-yard gain.
Wow, this is a good-looking run by Dave Denal. I mean, you got Sean Daniels right here who's going to lead up, but just watch as Denal comes up in here. Everything is blocked up, and, you know, as a good running back, he's got his eyes focused, and he just gets outside and gets a couple of seal blocks, and that is a good, solid run. I'll tell you, he is impressive.
At the Winnipeg 45, Taylor hit as he threw, and it's picked off. They whistled it down, however. Greg Clark had it.
I don't know how they whistle it down.
That's rather interesting because they're indicating first down Winnipeg.
You know, I didn't see, anybody touch Greg Clark. I don't know why he couldn't have continued on with that one.
Interesting to hear this. Cal Murphy doesn't like the call much at all.
Well, I don't understand the call. I mean, we're going to have a good look at it, and I'm not quite sure why they did whistle the play dead.
Bombers get a first down.
Get out of here!
Huh?
There we go. Maybe it'll become crystal clear to us now.
Winnipeg ball here.
George says, get out of here. Well, there's Greg Clark, boy.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Get him out of here! No, get out of here, too. Don't talk to me about your quarterback. Here we go. Change of possession.
A little testy down there right now.
I think George better turn his mic off. This is a family show. It's going to get out of control.
Well, the Bombers get credit with the interception. Get credited with an interception, I should say. And a catch there. Sean Graham makes it behind. Another peek at this previous play. We're still a little baffled why it was whistled down.
Well, I mean, it's tough to figure it. I mean, here's Greg Clark up here. There he comes, and he's going to get the interception. Now, I don't understand why you would stop it there. I mean, that's a touchdown as far as I'm concerned.
I think it should have been.
Anyway, I'm sure George has a reason. What?
Richardson, and the ball goes to Ottawa. Stacey Evans, number 93, coming up with a fumble. So that's just going to get the Bombers a little more infuriated on the far side of the field.
Well, Stacey Evans, I mean, Richardson's got it. There's a nice open hole to begin with, but the ball is knocked loose by Jermaine Younger and pops right into the hands of Stacey Evans. All of a sudden, you've got Jermaine Younger, the middle linebacker. You watch, it's his arm that knocks it loose, and then Stacey Evans makes the recovery. There's the left arm, just strips it loose, and nice bounce, wasn't it?
And definitely a Rough Rider bounce there. And now maybe back-to-back Rider bounces.
We got all the mascots running out in the field. They think there's a timeout. This is getting out of control for George. He's going to be going for a Tylenol at halftime, I think. He was running out in the field.
Now,
he wanted to play.
Is the flag on the mascot?
I don't know the way it's gone this year. Maybe they can use him at certain times. But I don't know what he was thinking.
Taylor on first down. Another marker down as Taylor goes deep. And Gordon comes up with a catch. Evans was covering, and Gordon stole it away. Markers are down, however, so we'll check out the infraction back at the line.
Holding, Ottawa number 53.
Uzu Okeke.
Well, here he is at the top of the screen. You be the judge. He gets that wrap around on Snipes. I don't think there's any question about that.
Taylor hit again by Colin Scribner that time. So on second and a bunch, Taylor goes to the shotgun, and he's wrapped up real quick by Dunstan Anderson. Some interesting moments in this football day.
I'll tell you what, you got to keep your attention level pretty high here because the ball's going back and forth. The mascots are coming on the field. Next thing, that balloon up above the middle of the field may come down.
Yeah, and there's a guy getting 3 hot dogs and roses on the other side of the field, too.
This is a great place to be today.
Second and a bunch, Taylor looking deep, looking for Gordon. He's picked off, grabbed by Gerald Vaughn. Vaughn's second interception of the season, and caught from behind and wrestled down near the 40. Hinchcliffe comes to make the tackle.
It's funny, John, how this game started off so well and so smoothly. I thought, you know, this is going to be a great, lot of action kind of game. But I mean, there's not a lot of action. There's just all of a sudden a lot of mistakes. And Steve Taylor, I mean, had he really aired this one out, you know, Bobby Gordon was in behind, but Vaughn in perfect position to go up and take it at its highest point. That's a nice job to get that interception at its highest point. And again, like, turnovers are happening at a pretty rapid pace now.
Gerald Vaughn has 11 knockdowns, and that was his second interception.
You know, he's 6'3", so when you say its highest point up in the air, you know, he's probably leaping up about 11 feet there. Did a nice job.
McDougall bought a little extra time, and he'll have a first down out across the 50. Eric Gulliford making the catch. He is the Bombers' leading receiver of 1996, and this guy's missed 6 games, so that explains part of the problem that the Bombers have had in getting a receiving corps together. Myron Wise has missed his share of games.
And apropos to your comment, I mean, I think that's his 46th catch of the year, and that's your leading receiver. That tells you what kind of problems they have had in that receiving corps.
McDougall loads the time again. Gulliford the target, and Henry was covering.
And Tommy Henry is at the top of his game today because, I mean, he comes up and challenges and bump and run, and he times it perfectly. Here they are at the top of your screen, but, you know, you want to watch technique and bump and run. Have a look at this one. You know, he does the spin turn, the speed move back in, a little contact, and then just gets the left arm in. The second time he's made that play today.
Tommy Henry missed 4 games, and he was the leading interceptor in the league when he went out with an injury 4 weeks ago. So they're happy to have him back in the secondary.
That was a fast speed turn that he made.
Second and 10. McDougall missed the target. Graham and Wise again in that area, and it looked like Graham might have been the closest receiver to the football.
You know, the one thing I noticed about Kevin McDougall, too, that he's going to have to correct, and I hope Mike Kelly sees it, his offensive coordinator, when he takes the snap, every time he looks to where he's going to throw right off the bat. He never looks one way and tries to come back another way. His look is premeditated as to who he wants to go to, and when teams start to recognize that, it's going to give them just that little extra break on the ball.
Interesting point. We'll watch for that as we continue.
Well, you watch, you know, fans at home, watch Kevin McDougall for the rest of this game. When he takes the snap, wherever he looks, that's exactly where he's going to go.
Bob Cameron will kick to Ken Wilhite into the final 30 seconds or so of the opening half.
I'll tell you what, George is getting a workout today, George Black. They've been throwing flags when they weren't supposed to. He's been getting into scraps with the players. George is earning his check today, isn't he?
He certainly is. And the one interesting call that we thought cost the Blue Bombers a touchdown on the interception return.
Well, we'll probably be on while you're driving home tonight, but I think I'll be on the same flight with George. So I'm sure
we're going to explain it at the airport.
We're going to have a good conversation about this game.
Cameron's kick, a one-hopper to Wilhite. Interesting job on the return. Picked his way through for about 7 or 8 yards, more than he should have had, but not much time left for Taylor in the first half. 14 yards on the return after a 46-yard punt. Cal Murphy in his 14th year in Winnipeg. John Payne in his 18th year coaching in Canadian football. Your old coach has been coaching for 40 years now. John Payne was with Leaf in Saskatchewan.
Or you were with him. I was with him. Yeah. I would put it that way. He was a fun guy to play for, though. I really enjoyed it.
Nice guy. Troy Mills makes the catch sliding out of the backfield. Wrapped up by Clemens.
No, it's kind of funny, John. You look at Troy Mills, and he's back in the lineup after being out a few weeks with an injury. But, you know, it's funny how teams use their import ratios. Essentially, Dave Denal has done all the running today, and Troy Mills, I think that's the first or maybe second time he's touched the football in one half. And it's always amazing to me, like he's really non-existent in this offense, and yet you waste his import position and you're not even using him.
Yeah, he hasn't really had his hands on the ball very frequently. Taylor on second down. Sean Daniels grabs about 4 yards, but that's the end of the opening half. Interesting to say the least, for the Ottawa Rough Riders scoring in their opening drive and holding on to a 2-point lead at the half on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Stay with us, CFL Live. We'll continue with a halftime show in just a moment.
Well, you know, everybody, yeah, exactly. Everybody that watches the CFL probably knows that me and Cal Murphy probably don't see eye to eye all that much, but I got to give this guy a lot of credit for not just going ballistic on the sideline over this call. I mean, the guy, if you want to take a look at it right now, the guy is being hit. The whistle is being blown right now. He's not even on the ground. Right now, you are taking a touchdown away from this team who is struggling, who is very much struggling, and they should be winning. George Black, who has been refereeing in this league for 17 seasons, should know better.
Well,
or even get better.
The only thing that proves, Les, is that nobody's perfect. He made a glaring error there, and that ranks up there with as bad a call as you're ever going to see in our league, and it just took away a sure touchdown.
Come on, Coach, get off that fence.
You can't defend the man, obviously. I mean, that's a colossal mistake. But by the same token, errors happen. I mean, guys are throwing interceptions, and players are fumbling, and even Darren Detition makes a mistake once in a while. He jumps in with comments he wishes he didn't make. I mean, it happens.
I'm sure all the referees will love you guys for this, but 17 seasons, you ought to get better. I heard Leaf say that he is earning his check today. They ought to take his check away from him.
What I don't understand is why the whistle was blown.
There was
no reason for
it. It was a quick whistle. It happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's
but
a
why?
mistake.
What was the whistle for?
Well, I guess he thought he was in the grasp or something.
Did he get his tongue caught?
In the grasp. Okay, gentlemen, we've belabored that point enough. Let's talk about the respective offenses for these two teams. And Winnipeg's going to be playing in the playoffs. I mean, it's right around the corner. They're going to have to go to Commonwealth Stadium. The Bombers had better start getting their A game together.
They better get a quarterback is what they need.
Well, they've got, you noticed you got Kent Austin standing on the sidelines, but it's painfully obvious that Kevin McDougall isn't doing the job out there, but yet they're hesitant to put Austin in, and I can understand their trepidation because they don't want him to get injured again.
That's right.
Well, which makes you wonder why teams like Toronto are playing Flutie every down when they've cinched the first place already. Why are they doing it?
Because of the timing, and he needs that work, and they don't want to mess up the rhythm.
So you think Austin should be in?
I think Kevin McDougall, what he's doing right now, he's having tunnel vision. I mean, this guy's got all day back there. The offensive line's doing a great job of keeping him out of there. He's staring at one receiver, and he's just throwing it to him. If a DB sees you staring at a receiver, he's just going to jump all over.
When you watch his mechanics, too, delivering the football, he doesn't have a real quick release. It seems like he has to kind of wind up to throw it, and that also helps defensive back react to that situation.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll take a short break. You're watching the CFL Live here on TSN. Still more to come in this Corral halftime show. Remember, with TSN, you're always live and interactive. Here are your current QB1 standings today. And welcome back to our CFL Control Studio. Boy, have we got a good football game for you tomorrow. It's the Edmonton Eskimos and the Calgary Stampeders. Do we really need to say any more? Whenever these two teams clash, it is outstanding. We are on the air at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. That's 12:30 a.m. Pacific Time. The Edmonton Eskimos, this is their final regular season game of the season. Ronnie Lancaster's a little upset about that. We'll talk about that in a moment or two, because Dave Sapunja says this is just a warm-up. We know we're going to meet the Eskies come the playoffs.
We seem to play Edmonton a lot in the Western Final, and there's been most circumstances we've always ended up in first place, and we end up playing them here. And in '93, they came down with a better attitude. They ended the season off with a victory against us, and I think that gave them the confidence coming into the playoffs. So we have to make sure that we have the confidence. It would be great if we can go up there, win the game, and then you can reflect on the last 5-6 games that we've played Edmonton, and they've only beaten us once. That we'll have the confidence and we'll be motivated.
It was tough in September, but we got through it. We took a few losses in a row, and that wasn't good. But I guess that built some adversity for us in confidence, because we could have lost faith in each other and start pointing fingers, but we didn't. We just stuck together, and now we're a stronger team than we were then. And I think it's going to show when we play in this Western Final.
They're already talking about the Western Final in Edmonton and Calgary as the Battle of Alberta resumes. And you know what? It's hard not to get excited about it when you take a look at the defensive side. I mean, you got AJ and Big Daddy and Anthony McClanahan for the Eskimos. You got Plas, Blue, Goods, Hunter. This is going to be a classic matchup. But are we looking too far in advance? I can see Coach going, got the chicken still their hatch. But it's hard, you'd be hard-pressed not to foresee these two teams. Winnipeg's offense, I mean, if they can't play better than what they've shown in recent weeks, I don't see how they're going to beat either one of those teams. And even if Danny McManus doesn't play as well as he has to. But Calgary is definitely the class of the Western Division. They got it all, and they're good enough to win it all. And Edmonton has to have that consistency at quarterback to be good. That was the next question. For the Edmonton Eskimos to have a hope in winning the football game, does Danny Mack have to play error-free football?
Danny Mack has to play error-free football. Is he capable of it? I don't know. You know what's interesting? The other Danny for Calgary, Barrett, has come along. He's playing some great quarterback again, and he's giving the Stampeders a much-needed...
And I think that's definitely going to be the major factor, because in what now that Calgary can do is they can play that first-string quarterback, and if he's struggling, maybe even running more, get the defense tired, bring in Danny Mack, and he can just sit back there and just fire at will. Or Danny Barrett. Or Jeff Garcia, get him running around and moving the football. The Edmonton Eskimos, they live and die with that defense. Will the Edmonton Eskimos be able to control Calgary's offense? Well, they do a good job matching up in terms of reading routes and the way they play their zones back there. But when you get to one-on-one situations, that's where the key matchups are. And Edmonton's got some real good defensive backs, but Calgary's got some excellent receivers. Okay, what about the special teams? You've got Marvin Coleman. You've got him going up against the Giz. Henry Williams. I mean, here's another pretty solid matchup. There's so many exciting guys in the league right now returning kicks, really. I mean, you talk about that. But isn't it ironic, though, how they all happen to be in Edmonton and Calgary in the great province of Alberta? And speaking of the Giz, though, big-time players make big plays in big games, and that is what Giz does for Edmonton. He's automatic offense for him, and I think that's the advantage that you talk about.
Have you forgotten Jimmy the Jet Cunningham?
No, I threw the Alberta plug in there. I was expecting a little more reaction from you guys, but it kind of, I guess you're so used to it now, right? This is, what, game number 41 for us this season? Yeah, Jimmy the Jet is without question having an outstanding season. And tomorrow, we'll see him in action. He's going to take on the BC Lions along with the rest of his Argo teammates. For Toronto, really, they don't have a lot to play for in this football game. They have the best record in the Canadian Football League at 13-3. The BC Lions limp into this football game 4-12. Interesting story with Giulio Caravati getting the start for the BC Lions. He's a Canadian quarterback, and that's kind of a neat and interesting development as well. And here's another neat little tidbit for you. Gino Retta once coached Giulio Caravati. And Gino Retta is, I'm not kidding you, he's in our TSN newsroom. Have an update. Welcome back to our CFL Control Studio. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have picked up their points via Troy Westwood's field goals, but that's about it for them offensively. Let's return to Ottawa. Here's John and Lee.
Well, there are a lot of people figure that the Bombers should have at least one touchdown on the interception and likely the lead here at halftime. That seems to be the talk on press row here. But it really looks to Lee Patterson like this is Winnipeg's game to the taking all of a sudden.
Well, I really think it is. I mean, the numbers wouldn't bear that out with only 116 total yards for Winnipeg. But, you know, you have to look at Ottawa. They had a great opening drive, but since that drive really did very little on offense. And, you know, I almost think that you're right. It is Winnipeg's game for the taking. I really think they're only trailed by 2 as miserably as they have played on offense. But if they could ever come out in the second half, establish that running game, and where McDougall maybe only has to throw the ball about 12 times, I think they can win this one.
Interesting, when you look at the Bombers with a couple of world-class backs in the backfield, they only have 29 yards rushing in the first half. Steve Taylor got a great start in the opening quarter, but hasn't been able to move the Ottawa Rough Riders toward the end zone very often since. Angelo Snipes continues to lead all quarterback sackers in the Canadian Football League. He has 15 total, and not one to his credit so far this afternoon. Captured live at the half, Winnipeg's Angelo Snipes. Snipes did get to the Ottawa quarterback once this afternoon, but it was nullified. No sack counted because of a penalty. Second half now underway as Ottawa returns. This is Ken Wilhite, and he's out near the 30-yard line. That's where Steve Taylor and the Ottawa offense will take over. A 19-yard return, and a perfect day for it at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. The Rough Riders on top by 2 at halftime. Taylor engineered a marvelous opening drive the first time he got his hands on the football and finished that off with a 5-yard touchdown to Dave Donnell. Since then, Ottawa has not really been close to the Winnipeg goalposts. And Clark is through to get Taylor on the first play of the second half. Greg Clark's 7th sack of the season, a loss of 9 yards.
And John, he has really been playing like a man possessed today when he's been coming after quarterbacks. Watch, he just delays a little bit, lets the stunt take place, and see the effect of Colin Scribner. Took 2 people, and that opened the hole for Greg Clark to come in and get the sack. And, you know, on defense is so much schemes like offense. One guy took 2 people, so Greg Clark can get his 7th sack of the season.
And I like your point. This really does look like Winnipeg's game for the taking right now, as Ottawa looking at 2nd and long. Troy Mills can't run underneath it. Clemens gets flagged. Charlie Clemens draws a flag.
Well, it's an interesting call. You know, the official that was like right in front of the play did not throw the flag, but 54 Al McColeman from the middle of the field did.
Pass interference, Winnipeg.
Well, I think that is, you know, it's a good call. I mean, it's interference.
Forward pass interference, Winnipeg number 48. First down.
There you go. You like the call. Well, I think and the replay clarifies it quite well.
Al McColeman, he's number 54. He's in the middle of the field, and he had a good look at it. It just kind of always amazes me how the guy that was right on top of it didn't call it.
Then 29 yards for Ottawa, 1st and 10. Now at the Rough Rider 50-yard line. Anderson makes the catch and grabs the first down, forced out by Damian Lyons. Anderson's 2nd catch of the afternoon. He's making his first start as an Ottawa Rough Rider today. Here are the quarterbacks thus far. McDougall 8 of 20 for 87. Taylor 7 of 13 for 96.
Kind of different numbers than we saw last night in Montreal. Anthony Cavillo again going over 500 yards.
Closing in just 100 yards here in the first half. Mills makes the catch, spinning around. Nope, couldn't hang on.
Well, it's good to see John Payne's team, if they're going to use Troy Mills as an import in the backfield, you might as well use him. And
you know, they've decided, obviously, here early in the third quarter that they're going to get him involved, and an interference penalty attributed to his pass route. Now, again, they go to him, and he just couldn't make the catch, but at least they're starting to use him a little more.
Rough Riders have not fared well in the third quarter, as indicated there. Taylor on 2nd and 10, wide open. Joseph Rogers to the end zone, can't quite make it. Evans caught up and forced him out at the 6-yard line. 42 yards for Joseph Rogers.
Now you're going to get a good look at the pattern here, and they just make a coverage breakdown. Bobby Evans let him go. He was going to do a switch, and the only switch was nobody covered him. Joseph Rogers, to Steve Taylor's credit, he saw what happened and the mistake they made, and he found the right guy.
Couple of catches for 75 for Joseph Rogers, and now he has Ottawa set up at the 6-yard line. Taylor looks to put it up. Get rid of it, get it away. Well, he does. Into the corner. And now a marker comes down.
Well, it's got to be roughing the passer because he threw it away into an area where there was lots of people. So you be the judge, watch the end of it. Now, here's a quarterback, you got to be thinking, hey, I got to get rid of it. I can't take the sack, and they're going to call Charlie Clements for roughing. I'm sure they will. And I really do think this call is pretty marginal. I mean, I don't know. Unless it's the intent, he hit him up in the head area. And I guess that's what they call if you make contact up in the helmet, you're going to get a penalty.
Roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer is the call, Ottawa.
I think the officials kind of been out of sync all day today. Starting first 2 plays, they drop flags and just say, no flag at all. And I don't know.
Dave Denal on 1st and goal to go at the 3-yard line, stopped by John Kropke. Denal was averaging 6 yards a carry in the opening half. 9 yards a carry coming into the game.
He's had an ankle injury the last few weeks, and they're kind of giving him spot duty today, and he actually will come out now, and Troy Mills comes into the ball game, but I don't know if that ankle injury is bothering him right now, but he didn't really get off the football as well as he had earlier in the game.
Ottawa's 2nd and goal to go at the Blue Bomber 2.
Good call.
Touchdown. Steve Taylor had them all fooled.
For a quarterback that runs the football reasonably well, as Steve Taylor does, the naked bootleg down on the goal line is a very difficult play to defend, and he sold the run fake very well to Troy Mills, and as soon as he turned, he knew he was into the end zone quite easily. See there, everybody closed down, and he was in without much trouble. The key is to influence the outside person on the line of scrimmage to sell that play fake and get him to come down. Taylor did it. And after that fake, it was an easy run in.
A couple of rushing touchdowns for Steve Taylor so far this season. And the Ottawa Rough Riders score on their first possession of the second half. Taylor in untouched. It's 15-6 Ottawa.
Rough, okay, with A and Z.
Steve Taylor had it all figured out on that last drive and ended up in the end zone carrying for his 2nd touchdown of the season. Ottawa Rough Riders with a little more comfortable edge now. Lamley's kickoff deep. Freeman Basinger. Fake the reverse, and Basinger has a nice head of steam. Crossing the 30 and out to about the 37-yard line.
I guess what Ottawa would really like to do, John, at this point is just go back in the locker room and come back out again, because every time they do that, they take it down and score. That time they went to begin this second half, 8 plays, 80 yards. They began the game the same way. They might have to go to the locker room, come back out again. That's the way they do it.
Ray Bernard and Wade Miller on the last return.
Tell you what, that's better than the Tyson Sheldon fight. There's more punches thrown right there.
You're absolutely correct. It lasted longer, too.
Sure.
McDougal Has Gulliford right at midfield, and Wilhite up to make the tackle. But this one may come back.
And that's too bad, because that's probably the best throw that McDougall's made all day, and it's going to come back.
17 yards would have been the gain. This will nullify it.
Illegal block to the head area. Winnipeg number 60.
It's the center, Dave Van Conant.
Penalty, holding, Winnipeg.
Now, there's been some wild calls today. I don't know. Get close to Halloween, that's all I can say. There's going to be a full moon over Frank Clair Stadium tonight for Cal Murphy's team, I think. That's a tough penalty because that's, you know, I said that's probably the best throw McDougall's made all day, and all of a sudden you made your best throw and it's 1st and 20.
It was right out at midfield. Now they're scrimmaging back at the 27. Blaze Bryant picking his way through on 1st and 20, and he's almost back to the original line of scrimmage. Stacey Evans made the tackle, number 93. Bryant with 4 carries for 10 yards in the first half. Richardson 4 for 19.
You know, the disturbing thing in that graphic to me is not so much the total yardage of 29 yards, it's the fact that they only tried to run the ball 8 times. That to me is the disturbing part, because it's really, you can't establish anything unless you're willing to be a little more dedicated to the running game than that.
McDougall surrounded and down. Dwayne Knight looks like he got there first, and he's celebrating.
And he should. You know, you look at this Ottawa defense and what are its attributes. I think team speed. I mean, there's not a great deal of speed up front in their front 4, but I'll tell you, the other 8, and it starts with guys like Dwayne Knight as he comes on this pass rush, they have a lot of speed. See how fast he was around Walby? Walby didn't even know it hit him there, and that's just team speed. Tell you what, he's got lots of it. You know, you say you always want your back on a linebacker. It's a good matchup. With this guy, you don't get in a big advantage because he's got great wheels.
Here's Cameron on 3rd down. High. Missed the big balloon.
They're going for that thing.
Here's Ken Wilhite on the return. I think Corral should give away a prize for anybody who puts it in the basket up there.
You let him have a free ride in it.
Well, they're throwing a little software.
There it is. See, right up there. They
lands it right in the basket there.
The review.
Winnipeg's Wade Miller is still chirping on the sidelines about his last special team play going against Ray Bernard.
Well, there he is right there. I mean, you know, as a linebacker, you're not going to get a lot of playing time with their good linebacking course. You might as well have some fun on special teams, and he makes the most of his opportunity. You know, Brendan Rodgers did that so many years for Winnipeg, and Wade Miller is going to be the next Brendan Rodgers for this team.
5'9", 215 pounds. Bit of a fire plug.
There's not a lot of neck coming out of those shoulder pads, was there?
Not very much at all. Open is Mills on 1st down, and the Ottawa Rough Riders move the sticks again. Garrett forced him out.
See, with Miller, you kind of go shoulder pads and head. Like, there's no neck in between. There it is. I mean, he's a muscular fellow, isn't he?
Graduate of the University of Manitoba and the Bison's football program. We'll watch him closely and see if he gets hooked up with Ray Bernard again.
Ottawa, number 63.
This penalty going against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Coach, that's foolish now. That's foolish. Get on him.
Riders are 1st down at the 40-yard line.
John Payne's always a safe guy to have a camera and a microphone around. He's a pretty religious fellow, and he's a pretty safe guy to do that with.
You're right about that. Other coaches have said a few things.
Yes, they have.
On the sidelines, Taylor just got it away and was lucky it wasn't picked on. Mills was the intended target. Taylor on his backside again. What did you see there?
You know, Dunstan Anderson's a guy that we really have talked about quite a bit, trying to find him out to the side. There he is, and We've mentioned him about 4 times now, but he fights off the block of Chuck Esty here. I mean, nothing fancy, just a bull rush and keep working. That's just a good attitude to just keep plugging away, and he gets some results.
2nd and 10, Ottawa, 40-yard line. The drop play didn't fool Winnipeg. Troy Mills got the call. Angelo Snipes got the tackle.
Well, you talk about Snipes as a pass rusher. He can play the run pretty well, too. He stuck his nose right in there and made the play on that draw. You know, that's not a bad call on 2nd and 10 every once in a while, but Snipes was right there to make it. Well, he's leading the league by 1, and Malvin Hunter, 13. Carter, I believe, has 13 after last night. That maybe should be changed.
Lamley at his 25 on 3rd down, Ottawa. Blocked. And the Bombers have the opportunity here. It's Bobby Evans. Touchdown, Winnipeg. Sean Graham came through to block the punt. Bobby Evans was there for a free one. Picked it up at about the 2-yard line. And that fires up Murph from the sidelines.
Recovered by Evans. Touchdown, Winnipeg.
Well, another look at the block, and boy, I'll tell you, sometimes special teams can change the flow of a game, and Sean Graham, the young rookie, 6'3", 209, stretches out quite nicely, gets the block, and Bobby Evans with the recovery.
Evans just had to fall into the end zone.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy trip in for him, but now all of a sudden, you know, Ottawa comes out, starts off well, and the special teams play with the touchdown gets Winnipeg right back in this one. Well, you almost feel like, John, this is what has to happen. It has to be either defense or special teams because their offense has just struggled so badly.
Bombers back with it still. It's 15-13 in Ottawa. Way to go, Freak. Sean Graham out of UBC has 1 reception this afternoon for 7 yards and 1 blocked punt that set up the touchdown.
And he's right in there, and he just get flagged by Michael Hendricks. He comes right up. Bernard looks out that way. Daniels looks out that way. And when your personal protectors do that, up front you've got to get a good block, and Michael Hendricks just kind of flags Sean Graham as he goes by, and that's how you get a punt blocked. That's not the 2 upbacks' fault. That's Michael Hendricks' fault up front.
The Bomber kickoff is a line drive taken by Jeff Cummins. Not a noted runner with the football in his mitts.
Tell you what, he got in pretty good field position, though.
Absolutely correct at around the 45. Nothing very fancy, but a nice little 21-yard average on kickoff returns.
I think he'd be happy with that.
Taylor moved the Rough Riders the last time he got his mitts on the ball. 7:21 to go, 3rd quarter.
Well, he's going to have to do it again because all of a sudden they had a little bit of a cushion. Now it's back to 2-point lead again.
Nice drive the last time. From the shotgun, Steve Taylor. As Joseph Rogers a little shy of the 1st down. A yard, maybe a yard and a half. We'll see where they spot the ball. Well, a little closer to 4 yards shy. The spot they got there. Thought he was a little bit closer, Leif, but it's 2nd and 4. Three receivers to the far side of the field. Denal, and the 1st down, awfully close. Wrapped up by Greg Clark, number 58. And again, the spot. Looks like it is a 1st down for Dave Denal.
And I think you have to be impressed with the job the Ottawa offensive line has done running the football. Okiki, the left tackle, does a good job on Katie Williams there, and that allows Denal just enough to get the 1st down. I mean, 2nd and 4, that's a tough spot to run on, and they pick it up and keep this drive going.
1st down, Ottawa. Travis Anderson split to the near side, and Robert Gordon makes the catch, slanting in from the far side. Wrapped up by Gerald Vaughn, 13.
And this is a good catch by Bobby Gordon. And all you're trying to do when you're out here and you're going to run the slant is just make sure you get inside position and hope that the quarterback puts a lot of mustard on the football. Taylor threw it nicely, and he allows Gordon to make the catch well before he's going to absorb the hit. And that's the key. If you're going to throw the slant as a quarterback, you better get it in there fast, and you better get it in there with a lot of velocity.
And Gordon got close enough for a measure.
You know, as a receiver, John, you don't mind going over the middle, and you don't mind going in where all the traffic is if you know your quarterback is going to give you the ball when he should. When they hang you up and throw it late, that's when you kind of lose your interest to go in there. But that was a great throw by Steve Taylor. And the stats, it's only like 9+ yards, but I'll tell you, that was a good throw.
2nd and inches. Nice play action fake by Taylor. And he should have the first down himself. Snipes made the stop.
And I like that offense. I mean, he still gets the first down, had to scramble to do it. But when you've got a free play, I think you should take advantage of it. Thought that was a heck of a good call by Taylor.
Well, they'll measure again. Perfect afternoon for football. 15,095 on hand. That's a little shy of what they were hoping for. There have been a few crowds like that in Ottawa this year. Here's how Steve Taylor has spread it around today. A little more to the right. But anything else? Couple completions over the middle, including the last one. And enough for the first down. Ottawa set up at the Bomber 43. With time, and he's on target. Joseph Rogers. Good move after making the catch, too. He gets inside the 20. Andrew Henry, number 24, finally over to make the tackle. The gain, a nifty little 25.
And, John, this is a good formation for Ottawa with Joseph Rogers as the number 3 receiver. And look at all the field he has to work with. I mean, that's a long way for Bobby Evans to have to chase him, and it's the formation that creates this. He's the 3rd man in. And that's a good scheme and a good pass again by Taylor. This has been a good drive for Steve Taylor throwing the football. But again, you know, it's the formation that creates that opportunity.
Another 100-yard day for Joseph Rogers.
He is excited.
From the Blue Bomber 18, 1st and 10, Ottawa. Taylor has it open up in front of him, and he's down to the 10. He's run the ball effectively.
And he's made good decisions, John, because initially he wanted to go up over the top. It wasn't there. He did not hesitate. When he saw an opening in the middle, he said, hey, I'm going. That's a good decision right there. Saw the opportunity and took advantage of it. That's the difference. Sometimes younger guys want to force it in and think, well, I can still throw the touchdown, but Taylor made the good decision and got himself about 8 yards.
That's it, 2nd and 2 at the Blue Bomber 10. Ottawa threatens again.
Count violation. Ottawa number 3.
And that shouldn't happen. I mean, that's 2nd and 2 down in the red zone, and all of a sudden now you're 2nd and 7. That's unforgivable.
After the great play by Taylor to get close to a first down.
You know, I wondered when they'd do it today, and they've done it now. Andre Bolduc, who their young, fine receiver, number 87, they brought him in their 5-pack version. I thought we'd see that earlier than now, but, I mean, you got Mills in there as the lone running back and Bolduc. This is a pretty good receiving corps all of a sudden.
3 receivers to the far side. Taylor tries to buy a little time. Foot race with Clemens. Looks to the end zone. Touchdown, Robert Gordon. I don't know if it was designed that way, but it works. Gordon found a way to get open. Sixth touchdown catch of the year for Gordon, and he gives a souvenir to a young fan in the stands.
And you know the nice thing about this, watch at the end of this, he's going to really outfight Andrew Henry for the football. Watch this, he comes right through him right there and uses his body as a shield. That's a pretty big catch by Bobby Gordon. That's a tough throw back across your body, across the field.
Taylor made the play. Gordon made the catch.
still with an outside shot at a 1,000-yard season.
Coming into the game, Gordon had 824 yards on 55 catches.
Well, don't tell Bobby Gordon that there won't be a team next year. He thinks there's going to be. See, watch him use his body as a shield right there.
Fourth catch of the day for 58 yards for Gordon.
Go ahead, 7:02. Lamar!
Well, back-to-back touchdowns on their 2 possessions here in the third quarter. First time was 8 plays, 80 yards. Now 7 plays, they go 64 yards. I mean, this is what is this well-oiled, high-scoring machine here?
The offense has looked rather sharp at times.
Now
The opening drive of the ball game, opening drive second half. There were a few moments in the first half that it was a couple of plays and gone and out. Here's Gulliford to return. And he's out near the 28-yard line. Andre Bolduc made the tackle after a 23-yard return. I don't think there's any doubt that John Payne has made vast improvements in this Ottawa football team. It hasn't translated into the number of victories that perhaps it could have, because the Riders have had some narrow misses and some games that they've kind of given away since John Payne got here. But the personnel on this football team is considerably better than it was at the start of the season.
I don't think there's any question. John has brought a calming influence to this team. There's no doubt about that.
Michael Richardson for Winnipeg. Jermaine Younger pins him after a gain of close to 5.
No, John, like anything else, I mean, I think if you look at this Ottawa team right now and their personnel, you know, this team can compete. It just becomes now the consistency factor. I mean, can they do it over a long period of time in each game over a long season? And, you know, that's always the great intangible with teams that are struggling.
And with a fragile state of football in Ottawa, I think it's really important that they finish out the season with a couple of solid performances, wins or not. Nice catch by Sean Graham. He's out near the 50-yard line. Graham has made an impact today, blocking a punt earlier that sent Bobby Evans in for the touchdown. That play, if it stands, will be marked off at 18 yards.
Passer, Ottawa number 38, first down.
Well, Sean Graham's had a lot of, there's the roughing penalty on Lamar McGriggs, but Sean Graham's had a lot of bad luck. See that roughing? Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the ball is, oh, that is silly. I mean, that, you just ask, why don't you just say, hey, I'm going to hit him, so get ready to throw your flag. You know, I mean, that's silly.
Might as well take it out of the guy's pocket.
Sure.
Drop it right beside your feet.
Yeah, he does push-ups when he doesn't catch interceptions. He should do push-ups for that mistake right there.
With the penalty in the game, Winnipeg set up at the Ottawa 44. Plays Bryant at the call, and submarine by Younger. Jermaine Younger has been solid in the middle for Ottawa today.
Yeah, it was frustrating for Younger this year. He began the season with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and through injuries, they had him playing defensive tackle. We did a game of his, and I mean, he was
just not his spot, right?
No way. I mean, there's just not enough lead in the tank for him to play there. But as a middle linebacker, he's not a bad football player at all.
No gain, 2nd and 10. McDougall has Myron Wise, and he's wrapped up. Sure, they spot this one, I think, short of the first down.
You know what, John? That's why I like Leonard Humphreys, and that's why I know Joseph Rogers is the flashier of the players here as rookies. But to me, Humphreys now all of a sudden, this guy makes the catch, but he makes the sure tackle. It keeps Myron Wise way short of picking up the first down. They're up at the top of your screen. Humphreys. Now watch this. In the open field, Wise does not go any further. All of a sudden now that's the little intangible that now Winnipeg has to kick the field goal instead of keeping this drive going. That's a solid play.
Cameron will spot it for Westwood. Good on 2 of 3. 2 dead center, but 1 off the post is first try of the afternoon. This one looks well wide. Willite likes to take it out. He's to the 5, and then lost a couple after that.
Is wide. Flag on the play. Penalty still reserved.
Robert Gordon has the most recent touchdown of this afternoon in Ottawa for the Rough Riders to make it 22-13. Let's bring in Mark Bunny.
All right, thanks, John. This little guy is Austin Gordon. That's who Bobby gave the ball to. Austin, what did your father just do?
Football.
Did he get a touchdown? Yeah. And then what do you have in your hands there? All right. This is Bobby's girlfriend, by the way. Lynn, what does Austin think of football? Enjoying the game?
Oh, yeah. He likes coming to the games, watching his father.
All right, sounds good. So he's got a souvenir anyway.
Oh, yeah. He's been waiting for this one.
You just threw it away. He has to go get it.
Oh.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. Back to John.
Well, Bobby Gordon and the Ottawa Rough Riders will begin deep in their zone at the 3-yard line.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure Kenny Wilhite made the smart play trying to bring that missed field goal out. Maybe he did.
That's pretty well here because the ball breaks loose and he's to the 32. This guy's had a great afternoon and a great couple of weeks. Final play of the third quarter. Zedal brings the fans to life in Ottawa, where the Rough Riders have a 22-13 lead. We send you back to TSN Control.
Boy, through 3 quarters of play, you'd look at these two teams and you'd say, which is the one that's 3-13 on the season? Steve Taylor has done a relatively decent job with his abilities. Perhaps we should say mobility, because that's been the key to Ottawa's offense, right, Coach?
Yes, I think Steve Taylor getting a chance to start and the way he's played. That last touchdown was a heck of a play by him. Bobby Gordon got open in the end zone, but for him to see him and be almost out of bounds and throw across his body like that, great play, and he's played well for Ottawa today.
You know what? While we were sitting in the studio and we were watching that pass go into the end zone, we were going, pick. We were waiting for the DB or the safety or somebody, a halfback, to jump in there and grab it.
Whenever there's a scramble like that, and the guy's on the sideline almost, you have to run over there, and you look around, you find somebody that's coming around, and you latch onto him, and that's what's taught. Right now, I think we have a rookie, or I think he's a rookie at safety right now for Winnipeg, and man, is he not looking too good for him.
Andrew Henry was burned on that play. You talked poetically almost about K.D. Williams. K.D. hasn't been the big flashy man that we've seen in the past. He has not had an outstanding game for the Bombers.
No, you're right. Neither have many of the Bombers. It's quite true, including Troy Westwood. I know really. Early in the year you kept talking about Troy Westwood being the most impressive kicker in your mind in the CFL, and I think I agreed at that point, but lately he has slumped a bit.
Well, we don't know if it's maybe because he had hepatitis or not, but man, he really has slumped off a bit.
Yeah, we all know how painful that can be. So 22-13, it has not been a banner game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're down, but there's still a quarter to go. Let's return to our nation's capital. Here is John and Lee. Gentlemen.
Now we'll turn up the tunes for you here. A little YMCA. Haven't heard this one in about a week. Remember when you used to dance to the Village People?
You did, I did.
Oh, come on. You in the leisure suits?
Don't drag me down to your level now.
Seems to me I remember that. No?
I'll tell you what, I had the polyester leisure suit. If you ever smoked around me, you were putting me in a big bit of problem.
Apparently Obi was back dancing in the studio. He's got one of those suits on today.
He's still got the polyester suit.
Dave Denal, not much there, averaging 7.2 yards a carry prior to that. That was his 13th carry. Through 3 quarters, Riders maintain the advantage on the scoreboard in time of possession, net yards.
Well, you know, John, you look, I mean, Ottawa had the ball most of that quarter, but Winnipeg had 112 at halftime. Now they've got 149. If I'm Cal Murphy, I'm concerned.
Defense has not been the Blue Bomber problem this season. Picking the most outstanding offensive player at the end of the year will be Gordon. I don't think he stayed in. Or did he?
Yes, he did.
On the catch. Gerald Vaughn didn't think he stayed in either, but Gordon gets credit for the catch. Another 21 yards. Closing in on 100 for the day.
You be the judge. I mean, initially at game speed, I thought he was in. I thought he hung in. Well, it's tough to tell there. I think he made the catch. I think that's a great call. Bobby's still trying to get that 1,000 yards, and this game's going to go a long way to helping him. That's a tough angle with the glare of the sun there, but I think he made the catch.
It was darn close. Tie goes to the receiver, I guess. Pressure on Taylor, and he's picked out. This is Andrew Henry, and he may have a chance to go all the way. Henry still standing, and he'll get the Blue Bomber touchdown.
He was running like a defensive tackle there. He's a middle safety.
60 yards on the return. The Bombers have another touchdown. The offense still hasn't contributed one, though.
That's a pretty exciting play, but I thought he was going to run out of gas going down the sidelines there. You'll see Taylor, really one of the few mistakes he's made today. He just doesn't see Andrew Henry coming across. Now, watch this. It's like somebody jumped on his back right here.
Having a little difficulty out racing number 51.
You time him with a sundial there as he's going into the end zone.
Well, he'll save the souvenir, and the Bombers are right back in it.
He is a rookie from CW Post, and, you know, Bobby Gordon outfought him for the football on Gordon's last touchdown, and, you know, he gets some sort of revenge there with the pick and the TD of his own.
So the Bombers are back within 2. Here's the last touchdown run at regular speed.
Third time today, hasn't he? Now here's Charlie Clemens. You see if he jumps. I didn't see it initially, but I guess he jumped the count a little bit. He was leaning into the neutral zone. I know George Black would prefer it wasn't that way, but he has had a lot of airtime today.
Travis Anderson to the near side. This is 1st and 11. Taylor won't get it away, or will he? Yes, right into the arms for the touchdown for Greg Clark. And just as you warned, the Bombers come up with a big defensive play, so 2 go for touchdowns. Clark a 12-yarder. Andrew Henry had a touchdown in the last sequence from 60 yards away.
Yeah, well, fair is fair, and you know, I just said this is an awful place for Ottawa to operate from, and Steve Taylor, unfortunately, he coughs it up and right into Greg Clark's hands. I mean, he couldn't help but score on the play.
Now, Clark was the guy who had it called back on his last interception, whistled down in a hurry. They gave him a turnover the last time, but no touchdown, although he was headed to the end zone. Now he has his touchdown. And 2 interceptions today.
Pretty much how we talked. This team, you know, was going to win this game. It appeared by defense today. And the special team score a touchdown, Bobby Evans, and now Greg Clark gets a touchdown. Probably should have had 2. All of a sudden, they're in the league, and their offense hasn't done a darn thing all day.
And that's why he got intercepted instead of me.
A little argument on the sidelines as to whose fault that might have been. But the Bombers defense comes through with back-to-back touchdowns. And Winnipeg has the lead by 5 points. Blue Bombers on top of the Ottawa Rough Riders on Clark's TD. It's 27-22. Welcome back to Ottawa. The Rough Riders have just blown the lead. Winnipeg on top, 27-22. A couple of interceptions for touchdowns going against Ottawa today, as Westwood gets set to kick it off. The sun, a bit of a problem for the Ottawa return guys. This is Ken Willite, and they form the wedge. Willite squirts through, needs a block. What a great return, forced out by Bobby Evans. Interesting formation to net 54 yards on a kickoff return.
Pretty good job by the wedge to create the initial hole for Kenny Wilhite. See how he waits until the blocking forms and had a couple of cuts, and he's off and running. And first time that the Ottawa Rough Riders has trailed in this football game, and we'll see how they can react to that score on the interception by Greg Clark.
Field position might help quite a little bit here. Ottawa across midfield, now at the Bomber 54, set up for the first down. Have you decided on whose error the touchdown the interception was? Here's Steve Taylor trying to shake it off after throwing a couple. And there's 3 in a row. Greg Frères had no problem waiting for that one. And the Bluebirds are out after 3 interceptions by Steve Taylor.
Well, and this interception is nothing more than Greg Frères just playing middle center field. And, you know, again, he thought pressure was coming from Snipes. He just lets it fly. And, you know, what can you say? I mean, that's a ball that probably shouldn't be thrown. And he's just into a real bad streak right here. Pretty easy interception for Greg Frères. That's where you just don't want to come off the field, because this game is slowly turned around. Well, not slowly, quickly turned around.
When you throw 2 interceptions, they'd go for touchdowns, and then you come back out, get a great return, and fire another interception to give it right back to the Blue Bombers. Injured Rough Rider on the field, and a timeout at Frank Clair Stadium with Winnipeg on top, 27-22. Steve Taylor has tossed 3 interceptions. On his last 3 passes, 2 have gone for touchdowns. As a result, the Bombers have the lead, 27-22. McDougall for Basinger, and that's a strike. Brennan makes the tackle. And a substantial gain for Winnipeg. David Archer maybe getting ready on the sidelines. At least he's throwing over there. Archer has a few problems, like an ankle, a knee, and a back, all bothering him.
He's taken a lot of shots over the last few years, and again this year, Ottawa protecting the quarterback ranks 8th in the league, and I think that's as much that, you know, Archer's not as mobile. You're going to have a few more sacks, but he has taken a pounding over the last few seasons.
Gain was 21 on the previous play, setting Winnipeg up inside Ottawa territory. Jeff Cummins, 99, getting to the quarterback there. Cummins and Swift Birch right up almost evenly in film sessions, the 2 defensive ends for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
And here's Jeff Cummins. You watch, he comes around and he'll end up making the hit. He didn't even have to come around. Nobody blocked him.
Second down and a whole bunch for McDougall. Whoa. And Brennan had an opportunity. Sammy Brennan got his hands on it. Richardson was the intended receiver.
You know, John, I talked about it earlier. From the snap, Kevin McDougall looks exactly where he wants to go. And don't think Sammy Brennan didn't get a bit of a jump on that football because of that.
And he should have made the interception there. He had it in his little hands.
Well, I'll tell you what, McDougall takes you to where he's going to go. Watch it, the snap here. Now watch it. He looks right there. I mean, if you're a defensive back, you start breaking on the football right away. And, you know, he's lucky Brennan didn't take that one the distance. Maybe Ken Austin, with all his experience, is telling him that.
Again, son a problem for the Ottawa return guys. Wilhite tracks it down near the 5. And Greg Clark wraps him up near the 17.
David Archer is going to come into the ball game and see if he can pull this one out. Club trails by 5 points. They've lost the momentum in this football game with all the interceptions for touchdowns. But it's only 5 points.
Not insurmountable with all this time left. Almost 10 minutes to go. Archer gets a warm reception. He's been a very popular player since joining the Ottawa Rough Riders. Been on the limp the last couple of weeks, and Steve Taylor has taken over.
Well, there's only 3 quarterbacks in the league that have thrown for more touchdowns than Archer has this year, and Archer certainly hasn't played all the games. So
missed at least 3.
Yes, so I mean, here's a guy that in a short period of time here with 9:25 to go you know, he can maybe pull out the win for his club.
Not as mobile as Taylor, so those Bomber linebackers will be licking their chops a little bit here.
You know, only Tracy Ham, Doug Flutie, and Jeff Garcia have thrown for more touchdowns than David Archer. Archer's not far behind them.
He'll use the shotgun. And has a strike to Rogers on his first toss of the game. Rogers tries to get around the corner and get the first down. I think he's done it. Great effort by Rogers after making the reception.
Well, already David Archer just short pass to get his rhythm going, and a pretty easy one to complete to Joseph Rogers. Get you out of trouble deep in your own end.
Archer, time again. Hinchcliffe can't hang on. Had it in his mitts, and Greg Freres laid a big hit on him.
Greg Freres timed that perfectly, and I believe it was Joseph Rogers going over the middle. And Archer, I mean, that's the only throw he could make. You know, you can say, well, maybe the quarterback hung his receiver up, but he had to loop it over Greg Clark right there. He had to just get it over Clark and in. I mean, that's a good throw. That's just one of those unavoidable things. You hang your receiver out, and I'll tell you what, Freres timed it perfectly and really unloaded.
So Rogers is down.
But if Archer throws that on a line, Greg Clark picks it off.
Then you are a winner. Pick up your prize at the Riders store following the game.
Greg Freres with a hit on Joseph Rogers.
If you are sitting in section B,
well, he was his body totally exposed, and Greg Freres just was waiting there to time it perfectly and just put a good hit on him.
Section D, row 19. Listen carefully.
Well, there's a good part of the story. Rogers will be back. Taylor trying to get over 3 interceptions at the Ottawa bench. After engineering some pretty nice scoring drives himself. But here's the one that got him the hook.
Well, you know, in all fairness to him, he was expecting Dave Dinal to continue on with his pattern. Dinal stopped. Clark was in coverage, and he was just right there. Sometimes it's not totally the quarterback's fault.
This is 2nd and 10. Archer in some trouble now, needs a block. It was a good one. Archer got it away, but took the hit anyway. The catch is made. A Duke, James Ellingson. Now that was a funny play. If you look back at the block that saved Archer, that was pretty amazing. 18 yards. And then Archer took a hit anyway.
Well, he did, but Uzo Okiki looked like a bowling alley there as he took 2 guys out, but Colin Scribner still got the good hit on Archer. But that's a heck of a catch by Ellingson. He comes in cold. That's his first play of the game, and he comes up with a big catch.
Net gain 18 yards. Archer stands in and has Robert Gordon. Watson made the tackle. That's Darius Watson, number 26.
Yeah, they've gone to their nickel pack because Ottawa's countered with their 5-pack. Andre Bolduc now is in the ballgame. Only 1 running back, Troy Mills. So Winnipeg makes their adjustment and brings 26 Darius Watson in, and they've gone to 6 defensive backs.
Another first down, Ottawa. 12 yards the game. Archer looking deep. Gordon the target. Vaughn was covering, and Archer missed.
Well, David Archer,
Williams on top of Archer again.
Yeah, he's taking some shots already as he's come into the ball game. Williams there. Williams coming on the blitz. Delayed blitz, and those are always the toughest ones to pick up. When the linebacker takes 1 step back like he's going in coverage, and then comes, you've got Troy Mills, your back, he leaves, and there's nobody to pick up the linebacker.
David Archer is one courageous quarterback. He has taken a lot of shots in his CFL career. Pumps once. Mills. Oh! No catch. Mills had it, turned to run, and forgot it.
Well, that's tough because that would have been an easy first down, and gosh, Troy Mills, usually a pretty good receiver out of the backfield, but he's had a tough day today. Not sure if that ball was tipped or not.
I think it was.
10-yard
Looks like a little tip right there, but it wasn't bad enough not to allow Mills to be able to make that catch, though.
And Hopwegan got a hand on it. But Mills still had the opportunity to make the catch and get the first down. Gulliford and Basinger deep for Winnipeg. Lamley at his 45. Big kick. Kicker is down. But there's no flag in the backfield. Now there is a flag in the area where Basinger fielded the ball. Lamley airmailed that one 40 yards. It's been an interesting afternoon. No penalty flag here on Lamley getting hit.
Well, you know what? That wasn't a dive. I mean, he went down, but somebody definitely hit his leg. You watch. This is going to be a good look here. And watch the leg.
Well, that's the more dangerous.
Let me tell you,
hit a kicker right there.
The officials are having a tough day today because that is contacting the kicker. There's no question. You've got to stay off his body. Tell you what, Katie Williams got away with one here. Officials are having a tough day. Simple as that. You don't like to be hard on them, but they're not having a good one.
First and 10, Bombers at the 7. McDougall on target for Gulliford. And that should net a first down. Henry made the tackle.
Well, at least, you know, they've evened a few things out, though. Greg Clark should have had an interception, and that went against Winnipeg. That should have been contacting the kicker, and that went against Ottawa. So I guess, you know, in the scheme of things, although it's not good, the best way to play, it did even out.
Could have been a real tough day for Taylor looking at the record books in future years. Had Clark's first interception and touchdown run stood, but they whistled that down, and Clark got one a little later. Graham escapes. Nice run down the sidelines, and Graham has had an interesting afternoon. Third catch of the day, but he also had a blocked punt that netted a Winnipeg touchdown.
Well, he went to training camp last year, was a high draft choice, and he broke a finger early in camp and had to have surgery. Came back, and he essentially only caught one ball all last year, played in 7 games, and this year he comes to camp and breaks his hand in training camp. So he's finally just gotten back in, and now he gets his chance to play today. He's a great target, 6'3", 209 from UBC, and that's just he's a guy that just needs playing time.
Grabbed 27 yards on that play, and the Bombers are all the way out across the 45 after beginning at the 7. McDougall stands in, and Myron Wise was the closest receiver.
You know, you have to give Winnipeg credit here. I mean, this has not been a very productive offensive day for Cal Murphy's team, but when they were backed up on their own 10-yard line, they've made a couple of big plays to get it out deep out of their own territory. And, you know, that's all you want from your offense sometimes, is just to give you a field position back and a little bit of breathing room, and Kevin McDougall and his offense have done that.
Wise to the near side. This time Gulliford. Flanks to the far side of the field, 2nd and 10. Wise, and flags everywhere. Wise couldn't hang on. Humphreys covering on him.
Well, they're going to call it.
Miro covering on the other receiver upfield.
And they're going to call Joe Miro on a bump on Sean Graham. Even though it was going to Myron Wise, I'm sure they're going to call Joe Miro.
Forward pass interference. Ottawa number 8. First down.
There you go.
You couldn't really tell who McDougall was throwing to on this play, but Joe Miro really doesn't have an argument. He actually put the hook on Graham pretty well.
Net result, 26 yards for the Winnipegs.
Well, you see it at the end here, and just to the left, you can't quite pick it up.
Bombers are set up at the Rough Rider 37. Cummins has McDougall, and he won't get away. Couple of sacks for Cummins today. He now has 8 on the season. Loss is 8 yards.
And that's a big play defensively. What you're trying to do now is to keep Ottawa out of field goal range. And here's Jeff Cummins at the bottom of your screen, rather. That's a huge sack. I mean, they need another play right now. But, I mean, he takes on the block of Michael Richardson. A pretty half-hearted effort right there. And gets the sack on McDougall. Now he's had a couple today.
Flags again. Looks like a time count violation.
Procedure, Winnipeg number 68.
Hang on. It's against the left tackle, Guy Earl. So added up here, it looks like a bunch necessary for a Bomber first down. 2nd and 23. Well, there's the Blue Bombers scoring in a nutshell. A couple of field goals offensively.
That's a pretty interesting graphic, isn't it?
It really is. The rest, or at least all of the majors, have come from the defensive special teams. Blaze Bryant, stop. Right on the line. Stacey Evans was there, 93, and Jeff Cummins. And really, Bryant just surrendered.
Well, I'll tell you what, Stacey Evans does a nice job right here. He is right here, and you watch, he's playing screen draw. That's his job in the middle on 2nd and long, screen draw, and he reads it perfectly. Well, you look back at this ballgame, there's 3:38 to go, and if Ottawa were ever to pull this one out, you might say Jeff Cummins' sack was a real key play in this game.
It will give them the opportunity to get the ball back. But the Bombers have done a decent job. They began this drive back at the 7-yard line, and Cameron nailed a big kick last time. So now Wilhite won't have a play here as Cameron gets a decent bounce and it rolls out.
Well, you know, you look at the Winnipeg offense today, they have put a lot of pressure on their defense, and the defense has actually responded quite well. When you have a day when you only produce 2 field goals and you're leading a game, I mean, you've done a lot of things right on defense, obviously.
2 interception returns for touchdowns. And then a blocked punt. Into the final 3 minutes now at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. Too many errors for John Payne's Ottawa Rough Riders this afternoon, and Steve Taylor will no doubt take the blame for a couple. Right now, flag is down. Anderson made the catch. Be an offside against Winnipeg. Angelo Snipes appeared to move a little early.
He was in the backfield before the ball was even snapped. I mean, it's good to have enthusiasm, but intensity. But you know, at this stage of the game, you don't want to give the other team any free plays, and that's what they did.
Offside, Winnipeg number 91. Repeat first down.
There's the call. Here's the timeouts. Ottawa 5 points down to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers into the final 3 minutes. It has been a long time between cheers for fans of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Still 15,000 faithful here today, hoping for another chance. Here's David Archer on 1st and 5. Mills makes the catch and explodes. Troy Mills, what a great run out to the 50.
You know, it's funny, David Archer is so good at that. It's just take the little things, and, you know, he didn't force it downfield. Mills was his outlet, his safety valve, and look what that turned into.
A 34-yard gain is what it turns into here, Lee.
Well, sure. I mean, you know, hey, dump it off. It's a 5-yard pass. It ends up 34 yards later being a first down. All of a sudden now you're out to almost midfield, and, you know, 2:33 to go. You got a shot.
Archer shotgun, first down. Markers down, could be holding Ottawa. Bolduc made the catch. He's halfway to a first down if it stands.
And I don't like the way Ottawa's offensive line is walking.
No, they're kind of sheepishly trying to hide
Holding,
behind the running
Ottawa number
back.
69. Repeat first down.
Chuck Esty.
That's a tough penalty.
After the big play. 2:23 to go. John Payne tries to get the Riders over another hump. They were 3-13 in 1995. Still looking for their 4th victory of 1996.
He moved again.
Hinchcliffe was the intended receiver. I'm not so sure that Shannon Garrett didn't grab an arm there, but no marker.
Well, this is tough now. I mean, you 2:19, you got 2nd and 20. I suspect if you don't pick it up here, you've got to punt and hope your defense can get the ball back for you quickly. But this is a tough play against a defense that rushes the passer as well as Winnipeg has done today.
And when you've got a quarterback who's got the sore ankle, the sore leg, the sore shoulder,
sore everything,
sore back, and is not noted as a mobile guy in the first place, this is a big charge. 2nd and 20. Archer has to unload in a hurry, gets it away. Rogers draws the flag, and rightly so. Coverage by Gerald Vaughn.
You know what? Rogers had a step on him, and it was a very subtle grab, but there's no question Gerald Vaughn grabbed him. And I'm not so sure Rogers was going to be able to make the catch anyway.
He could have made it. Vaughn is...
Forward pass interference. Winnipeg number 13. First down.
Have another look.
Well, here's Gerald Vaughn at the bottom. Here he is. And follow the action here, and you'll see a very subtle little push and grab right there. See that?
I think that's the right call.
It was just enough. But I'm not so sure Rogers is going to be able to make the catch.
Man, 34 yards for Ottawa, set up now at the Winnipeg 35. Archer shotgun. Time to throw. Rogers again. Not quite. They rule him out about the 2-yard line. Make it the 3. This guy can play football.
Wow, he ran a post corner on Gerald Vaughn. Absolutely turned him inside out. A terrific pattern by Rogers. You know, I might have to vote for him for the Rookie of the Year on this team. And good throw by David Archer. Safe throw, didn't lead him too far. Well, boy, back-to-back plays. What an impact Joseph Rogers made. But it was a terrific. He sold 3 hard steps to the post. Turned Vaughn around.
Nice little afternoon. 6 for 150 yards. He was over 1,000 coming in.
You know, that's the greatest feeling as a receiver. When you've run a great pattern, you know you're wide open. You just hope when you turn around and look that ball's in the air. And for Rogers, it was.
3 cracks at it from the 3 for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Dave Denal, he's got the touchdown. That's somewhat fitting, too. Kind of feel safe when you're here in the nation's capital, and you know the Army is protecting Lansdowne Park this afternoon with the big cannon here.
Well, this sets up a situation. Now you will look at Dave Denal following in Sean Daniels with a pretty good block on Katie Williams. Score 28-27. Really, I believe Ottawa should be going for 2 points here because 1 point doesn't mean a lot. I'd be going for 2, and yet they're going to kick the extra point just for the 1. I'm not so sure about
2:04 on the clock. I think you might be right.
You know, and this is not
Goal still beat you.
This is not new for poor old John Payne. He's had some problems this year with when to go for 2 and when not to. And I really think this is the case that he should have gone for 2 because a field goal now beats you.
Which would be heartbreaking. Dave Denal has a couple of touchdowns for the Ottawa Rough Riders this afternoon. Here's number 2.
Well, he got underneath everybody as he squirted into the end zone.
You know, I thought he might have been trying to go over the top, lost his footing, and kind of submarined himself into the end zone there, but he'll take it.
We're going to try to win this one. We're going to try to win this one. It might not mean much, but mean hell of a lot to us. Ottawa Riders.
7 plays to cover 99 yards. Dave Denal, a 2-yard rush to put Ottawa back on top, 29-27.
And I just hope that decision to kick the extra point doesn't come back to haunt them.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to score a touchdown in the field.
Can you make it? They need a field goal to tie. Now a field goal beats you.
Well, you know, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think this is where, you know, you need some help sometime from your assistant coaches upstairs who are just kind of sitting up here, and, you know, they need to know the situations and relay it down, saying, you know, we should go for 2. And I think it's a mistake.
Here's Eric Gulliford to return for Winnipeg into the final 2 minutes. Gulliford decently out across the 35.
You know, you don't get a whole lot of help from the scoreboard people here in Ottawa. I mean, they still haven't even changed the score. They've still got it up as 28-27. It is 29-27.
What we really need are some light bulbs in the score clock here so you can read it on a sunny day. This is the ugliest score clock in the history of professional sports anywhere.
Well, there you see the 28, though. It's 29. So, you know, this is tough on maybe Cal Murphy when he's thinking,
you can read that.
Nice.
This is downright ugly. Anyway, unofficially 2 minutes to go. McDougall for Sean Graham. Nice afternoon for the young kid out of UBC. Humphreys made the tackle.
Well, I guess with 1:54, I mean, there's lots of time. You know, they're only like 2 first downs away from Troy Westwood having an opportunity. Wind is absolutely no factor at all, and the sun is at the back of Westwood. When he, you know, that's not going to be a problem if you had to try and line it up where you could say, geez, you know, the sun's kind of bothering me here. I mean, everything really is in Winnipeg's favor here because 2 first downs, 1:54 to go is not a heck of a lot.
A beautiful afternoon.
Well, there you see the sun. I mean, that's what the receivers are going to be looking back into, and that is tough.
Second down. Inches to go. Blue Bombers at the 49-yard line. Richardson has the first down.
First down.
Dwayne Knight made the tackle.
It's interesting how Kevin McDougall is playing this. There's 1:44 to go, and he's just, I mean, they're not even getting back to the huddle quickly. I mean, again, you know, the clock is running down 1:40. You know, I guess they're just banking on, you know, trying to just kick the field goal to win this one, but they are killing a lot of valuable seconds on this clock.
1:31 to go. That one batted down. There was an opportunity for Cummins there.
I think he was so surprised he couldn't catch it. I mean, that was a catchable ball.
So it flips to 2nd and 10. They're not in Westwood's range right now.
Not yet. Left of your screen, Cummins gets the hands up. He threw it low on him. He had no chance to make that catch.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. Ottawa on top by a couple. Time ticking down. Big play here. McDougall is on target for a first down to Basinger.
Well, again, you know, we said 2 first downs. There's 1. They get 1 more, and they're in range for the field goal.
Yeah, that was on 2nd and 10. So Basinger comes up with a clutch catch.
You know, it's funny, they still haven't changed the scoreboard here, reading 28-27, but it is 29-27. Cal Murphy is completely aware of that. There you see the 28 in the bottom left. But Cal Murphy, he's aware of the situation. 1 more first down, and he knows what his team can do.
McDougall. Wise halfway to a first down. Just about in Westwood range now.
Well, I would say they are in range. I mean, there's no wind, and he can make one from 50 yards, and that's essentially what it would be right now if they had to do it.
As long as this season 57. He's nailed the post once this afternoon.
Well, he's getting ready. He's getting all his good thoughts put in his mind. And they've been through it before. Under pressure, he's very good. He hasn't had a great year this year, but in the past, he's been good in these situations.
This is 2nd and 5. McDougall swings it out to Basinger, and it's a race to the sidelines.
Bombers have a chance to win this one now. Definitely so.
You know what? If you got a young quarterback like Kevin McDougal and he's coming over to Cal Murphy, you know what they're saying right now? They're saying run the ball, kill the clock, and let Troy Westwood win it. Don't even think about touchdowns right here. Run the football, kill the clock, and let us win it with a field goal. Guarantee you that's what he told them. That's exactly what they do.
Blaze Bryant with 35 seconds on the clock. Westwood waits for the opportunity to win this thing.
Well, give their offense credit. I mean, McDougal made the big play, got the pass to Basinger, and they completed enough balls, and now all of a sudden they're in a position to let the clock wind down. And, you know, after this play, I'm sure Ottawa will call a timeout.
25 seconds on the clock right now. McDougal on the ground again. Bryant again.
And he may have a first down. It won't really matter other than to just take the clock down to 0.
17 seconds. Westwood waits. And the Bombers have an opportunity to win in the final seconds and improve their record to 9 wins and 8 losses. The Ottawa Rough Riders have let this one slip away a couple of times today.
Pretty interesting second half. I mean, it was 8-6 in the first half. Not a lot of offense, but second half, everything opened up, and it was a pretty good half of football. So they come up short.
%50 today. 36 for 50, 72% of the season. Mentioned the longest field goal, 57.
Yeah, that's why I felt that all they needed was a little bit to give him a chance. I mean, he's usually up in the 80% on the season. He said he hasn't had the greatest of years, but I sure wouldn't bet against him in this situation.
Still, he's got to make the kick, and it's a chip shot right now. Line of scrimmage is just inside the 15-yard line.
He did it earlier against BC with no time on the clock to beat the BC Lions, and now he has a chance to do it again.
Here's Westwood for the win. Cameron will spot it at the 21-yard line. And it's good. Bombers on top again by a point with 12 seconds on the clock.
Now do you see what a difference that two-point convert might have made?
That would have been for the tie.
It would have been for the tie.
If they'd made the two-point convert, but if not, he is still lost. Or fallen behind at least. This is a pretty good combination here, Cameron and Westwood.
Well, good hold, and kind of scruffed the tee a little bit on that kick, but he didn't need a whole lot to get that one through.
He was expecting it.
Well, you know, I wouldn't be fair if I didn't say that I thought it was a real coaching error on the part of Rough Riders. John Payne's a very good friend of mine, but I think in that situation, that's a mistake that maybe cost his team a chance to go to overtime today.
Well, you're conceding the fact that they would have had
if they'd made the two-point
conversion. 12 seconds to go. Archer goes deep. No one's looking. Bolduc was down the field, and he was open.
It's like he was just running the 100-yard dash because he never looked around.
Now 8 seconds to go.
See, Archer said, turn your eyes. Look. He can't believe it. He was actually open in the seam.
Well, the charge melody is playing in the background, but there's not much hope in Ottawa right now. Archer for Mills. This might run out the clock unless Mills makes it all the way to the end zone. Needs a block here.
Throw it to somebody.
On the 35-yard line, and time has expired on the Ottawa Rough Riders one more time. Cal Murphy and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come in and get a bit of a gift victory. 3 touchdowns from special teams or defense. The offense never made it to the end zone. It was all Westwood offensively. But the Bombers come back for a 30-29 victory over the Ottawa Roughriders. One more loss at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. They were close. Steve Taylor has had better days. There's your final on the CFL Live. We'll wrap it up in a moment.